Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Here we are.
Thursday. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And then there were three.
Yeah.
OG3.
That's right.
You
That's
never,
right.
you never.
Bull, G. Bush, JC.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, you're back.
You missed that.
He's got a
I
mug now.
just noticed that.
He's got a mug now.
Listen, hold
Get
on.
the camera on that.
Look, you know, I got a little tumbler. You know what I'm saying? This is the Kool-Aid Mafia tumbler.
How much will that set me back?
This is very reasonable. This is, this is under, this might be $12 or something on the website. Look at this, man. It's cool. It's really cool.
Is that dishwasher safe?
Oh, dishwasher safe.
I ask because I've bought some cheap ones before,
Yeah.
and the sticker comes off in the dishwasher.
I always wash things like that by hand.
See, you
Okay.
you can touch it. It's all like this. It's heavy, good. Listen, that's on there.
Quality.
That's
bro.
so quality, and that's a steel straw. None of that cheap stuff.
I do like a good steel
Look
straw.
at that, right? Some of you don't even want T-shirts, right? You're like, that's too much. I'm not gonna be wearing no Kool-Aid man on I'm a grown person.
Where can they find this? Where can they find this product?
This is available right now on bushlinebeauty.com. If you want to go out and get that, Backslash Barbershop, available right now. This comes in a white. It also comes in a black. If you do want those, and those are available right now, it's really light. And the great part about it is, this is the first time using it.
Yeah.
I had it in the car, spill proof, does not spill.
Really?
Be good for kids.
Great for kids.
So there's like a rubber gasket around that straw?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's beautiful.
Now, why don't we do this? If you order before midnight tonight, the second one's half price.
If you order, I don't want to say that.
Yeah, because that's too hard to sort them out.
Yeah, I can't tell.
You're making things complicated.
Yeah,
But,
I really
But
don't.
if you tune in tomorrow, there might be another. If you don't like tumblers, there might be something else you can get that you might want to drink.
You are the Ronco of YouTube TV. You really are. You're Ronco.
Listen, low key, I am.
Yeah.
Like I'm the only person that's ever going to get put in the Hall of Fame for broadcasting just for marketing.
Y'all
might
are
be right.
You know QVC?
Yeah.
This is now GVC.
Yeah.
GVC.
There you go.
You know what I'm wondering? 5 years from now, will I walk into a dollar store and see these for sale as seen on TV?
Yes.
We might. Listen, we gonna keep it moving, man. We keep it pushing, man. People be saying, G. Bush, we need some more stuff. They're like, oh, by the way, you've been asking. I'm gonna tease this a little bit. They've been asking for it.
Yeah, out in the streets.
They've been asking for it in the streets. I'm just only gonna say, I've granted the wishes. They coming.
You know what you should do?
What?
They're coming.
Let me guess. The knit caps.
No, you know what
They're
you
coming.
should have?
They're coming.
A cell phone cover.
Oh, I already got one.
Oh, you do?
He's got it all.
It's just
Do
with
you
this-
have Flex Seal? Do you have a G. Bush Flex
No,
Seal?
listen, that Flex Seal, boy, I thought about putting that on my roof.
You can make a boat out of like 2x4s and Flex Seal. You
Just
spray that up.
Yeah.
I had a leaky roof. I said, I'm going to put that Flex
By
Seal
the way,
on
we
that.
have to talk about here on the regular show how I kicked Mike's ass in the tug of war. In an arm wrestle.
Arm wrestling, that's right.
Arm wrestle yesterday. And he has been making nothing but excuses since that loss.
Did I make any excuses?
Well, you did try to claim that his elbow came off.
Well, I did.
And I couldn't really
You
determine
couldn't
if
tell
it
for
did.
sure on the video.
But I will say this.
If it did, it came up a pinch.
Here's what I heard from. I heard from a lot of people on this one.
Yeah.
And the overwhelming majority said, Bull should be ashamed of himself. And I said, why? There were 5 or 6 people that said this.
I should have beat him quicker?
That it took him so long because they said he's easily 2 for 1 on the weight, and it took him a very long time and a lot of struggle to beat him.
Well, then how come everybody thought he was going to win then in the beginning?
I didn't.
Jason
put my money on
Lloyd
you.
said it was a
We
major
literally
upset
all bet
that I
on Bull.
won.
Even I said Bull was going to win. Like, we all bet
Not
on Bull.
originally.
Yeah, if I was betting real money, I would have said Bull's
Bull
got
was the heavy
this.
favorite there.
I
yeah.
mean, he should. And that was the
Is
point.
it
A lot
just
of people
about-
yesterday, I heard from a lot of folks that said it should have been like this. Boom.
In over the top, Sylvester Stallone beat a guy in the championship who was twice his size.
That's a fact. Yeah. But that's
Bull
Hollywood.
Hurley. It was Bull Hurley.
But that's Hollywood.
It's real.
And
it's
who
based
who produced that movie? Not Bull Hurley.
on Sly. I love that movie, man.
You know, I'd never heard of or seen that movie until I
What?
think No.
Meet me halfway across the sky. It's one of the songs in the movie.
I haven't seen it.
Make
not
it
seen
a new beginning.
Oh, I do know that song, despite the fact that
and
you're
I.
horribly off key.
We're about to get
Yeah.
sued, Bull. You got to stop. That's
All
enough
right.
for the
But
copyright infringement.
don't-
Quick.
You know what?
Yeah.
Whoever said that, tell him to talk to me directly. You
All
got
right,
some
I will.
Trash to talk.
I will.
Mike's
one
a
look
young.
like-
Mike's got. It's not just about weight.
Today it's going to be a Didi versus G. Bush.
He's 20
who's
years.
going to win? It's
he's-
anybody's guess.
He's 20 years younger. He
is.
works out regularly.
He does.
So
Here's
give me
the
a
one
break.
thing we didn't take into consideration: dad strength. I do not have any kids that I know of. Bull has one confirmed child, and dad strength's a real thing.
One confirmed child.
Confirmed.
I like
I
the way
could
you
have
said
others
that.
out there.
Congrats, Bull.
And let me tell you something. Dad strength is a real thing.
Oh yeah.
That's
It
what I've
is.
heard.
You get it.
Like,
you
you
just,
get-
I don't know
My
where it
son
comes
was.
from.
I showed my son the video of the arm wrestle. He was proud to
Oh,
death.
congratulations to your son, by the way. Brag for a second.
Thank you. Yes, so my son, for those who don't know, I don't know how often, if I've mentioned it, but my son has really gotten into wanting, he's interested in being an actor. and
He's a
comedian.
thespian.
Who knows where it will go, but I'm going to support him 100%.
Absolutely.
So last fall, he was in a show.
Mm-hmm.
He had a small role in the show at the Beck Center, which is, if you live anywhere on the West Side, or even in Cleveland, you know the Beck Center. It's in Lakewood.
It's a reputable community playhouse.
Huge. It's
very
it's
good
more
reputation.
than that. They teach dance, music,
The arts.
everything.
Yeah.
So this is like a white person's YWMCA, right?
It's not just white people.
No.
Well,
I mean, it's in Lakewood.
do
It's
they
not
have
like out in Avon.
I mean, when me and Earl, we ain't got no thespian center. We ain't got no.
Well,
like, you don't just wake up and just start acting
Well,
like with a bunch
you
of
know what? Let's frickin' start one.
the Beck Center is open to everybody. It's
Okay.
a great place.
Yeah.
It's a really great place, and I highly recommend it to any parents that want to get kids in the arts. So anyway, he was in the show last October. He did a great job.
Nailed it.
And he nailed it. And and then he auditioned for a play that's going to be out actually at the end of the month.
Tell him how they auditioned. I
Well-
love what he did for the audition.
for the one in October, which he has a mid-tier role.
Right.
He did the scene from Rocky Balboa about where he talks to his son about it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep going. And he did it with the accent.
Oh,
too.
that's
That's dope.
fantastic.
But so he got a mid-tier role. This is for kids 8 to 18. So
Wow.
he's only 10.
Okay.
And
Jeez.
I think he has the largest speaking part of anybody under 14.
Let's
in
go,
that
baby
one.
Bull.
Baby Bull.
But we just found out last night for the big winter show, which is a 2-week performance.
Wow.
Called Going Medieval. He got the second lead. Now this show is for kids
Wow.
12 and under.
Let's hear it for Baby
but
Bull,
he got
man.
the second lead.
That is incredible.
if
That's
you're a
crazy.
Harry Potter fan, he's like the Ron Weasley.
Oh, listen.
Character.
Could Aaron
Wow.
get us free tickets to the show? Because I will.
No,
definitely
nothing
go.
free. They need support. We'll
No,
pay
we'll
and
support.
We'll
If
go
you guys
support
want,
him.
if you guys want to come, I will buy you all tickets.
I'm in.
I'm not going
I'm
to force
on-
you to go because it's a kids show and you probably find it a little boring.
I am going to come. Whatever show I have to pick
Well, I
to come,
appreciate that.
I
You guys
wanna
come,
for
I
you
will
all.
treat that.
We all love Aaron. He's been on the show a
Thank
couple
you.
times.
Thank you. He
He's
will
a
love it.
small
That's
guy with
crazy.
an adult personality. It's
He
the only
really
way to
does.
explain him, really.
So we got the email about the cast list at like 10 o'clock last night. And he's usually sleeping by then, but he was still up.
Did he know it was coming?
We thought it wasn't coming till this weekend.
Oh, okay.
But it came out last night, and he wanted this role, this second role.
That's unbelievable.
Because it's like the funny friend.
Right.
And so I went in and told him, and he jumped out of bed. He was
That's
very excited.
fantastic.
You know,
Congratulations.
You know, y'all
So proud of him.
Y'all got kids and y'all be friends. Y'all be hanging out with y'all sons. Like, that's a beautiful thing. Like,
It
y'all-
is. Hey. And you know what? I have no doubt at all. One day when you have kids, you're going to be friends and hanging
Yes,
out
you
with
will.
him, too.
Yeah, I'll be,
'Cause
Yeah,
I know what's in there,
I'll
bro.
be 66. I'm like, man, we can't hang out.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
might
a
want to
young
hurry
man.
this up.
Dude, I was your age when I had Aaron.
Yeah, that is,
Well, you know.
I was 25.
Yeah, you were young. Well, you got married young.
Married at 22, right out of college.
Right.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Now, the crazy thing is, when my son was 18, and, obviously, a highly ranked national athlete, he was just able to beat me in sprints
See, that's
because I was still young enough and in shape
Right.
to get out there and go with them.
Dad's weekend was crazy.
Oh, my goodness. I never had free time.
Dad-
Ever.
No, I'm
Because I
talking
was either at his games or we were playing something.
Oh, I'm talking about Dad's
Right.
weekend,
Together.
Dad's weekend in college.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, trust me. Okay,
Yeah.
Aditi's here. We're going to talk Browns turnover issues. Are you concerned about after 4 games, it's a small pattern, but it's been a pattern this year. They're giving the ball up way too much. They're not taking it away. Are you concerned? Browns linebackers, as we rated them, above where we rated them or below where we rated them at the quarter poll? We're going to play contender or pretender. Mikey gives us an NFL team. We'll tell you they're a contender or they're a pretender. And I hope the Bengals are on that list.
They are.
Okay, good. Yeah. Also, Chris Rose on the show. Our first hello of the day to Mikey McNuggets.
We also have a UCSS guest from Down Under, our first ever Australian guest on the show later in the show. Exciting. Before we get to that, though, we are just a couple hundred subscriptions away from 30,000. So if you guys would be so kind, if you haven't already subscribed to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It goes a long way to helping us. It is totally free. It's a click of the button. And we duly appreciate it. 29.6, so we're just a couple away.
So we're 400 away from
30K.
I would think we could get that today and tomorrow.
I would hope so, and hopefully by at least
the subscribe button.
Yeah,
folks.
by San Francisco. That is our goal. We want to be at 30K by San Francisco.
Tell them why they want to hit the subscribe button. Don't they get notifications whenever there's breaking news?
Yes.
Yeah, they get notifications for the show.
Yeah, whenever something is going to happen. Let's say the Browns make a trade at 3:30 in the afternoon. You're out in the field working. You don't know what's going on. Yeah. You'll get a notification. Hey, UCSS is going live with major breaking news. Always be in the know.
Well, whether it's live or whether it's one of us making like a video telling them about the news.
You get a notification.
Anytime we put anything out there, and we put a lot of things out there, whether it's the show, whether it's the post-game shows, whether it's the guys doing the Behind the Glass yesterday, which they graciously invited me on.
I was watching.
Wow, you went Behind the Glass yesterday?
We're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about that later.
Okay, I can't wait to hear that one.
Whatever it is, or if it's just one of us doing a 60-second short.
Right.
You'll get the notification.
Okay.
So and also, shout out to Skilly for gifting 20 memberships in the chat today. 20 from Skilly.
Nice
so shout out to you, Skilly. We appreciate you guys.
So that cost a piece of change. That cost him $100.
Shout out to Skilly.
So Skilly loves the UCSS so much, he wants to spread the love so much, he dropped a Benji on it.
Oh, that's so great. Listen, Skilly, shout out to he wanted a white hoodie, and I told him, I said it wasn't available at the time. So he said I wanted one. It looked like it was out. I told him yesterday. I said, listen, Skilly, it's on the way. We do got the white joints. So I just said, for your inconvenience, I'll send you one for free. Shout out to Skilly.
There you go.
Wow.
Skilly.
Skilly's a super fan. You know what that's called? Paying it forward.
There it is.
Karma, baby.
That's it.
Do nice things to others, and it always comes back to you. It's the universe. We ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll dive in with a conversation that we had when the schedule came out. We all looked at the schedule and said, whoa. The Browns have a bye in week 5. That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's too early. You want it later in the season when you really start to accumulate some injuries. Mm-hmm. Then, lo and behold, Deshaun Watson gets dinged up. Now, it would have been better if they had a week 4 bye, which I don't think anybody did. The byes start next week.
Yeah.
But it would have been better and perfect timing if it was at the time that he got injured. Do we still hate having the bye so early? What do we think about that?
I mean, I don't know how we could hate it now. It's perfect timing. Deshaun clearly was unable to go last week, but is close enough that 2 weeks off, because it'll be 2 weeks between last week and this week, he should be good to go.
Gosh, he better, because GM said he's going to play.
He did. Like, the players say
Which I think that was a misstep, but...
Well, it's only a misstep if he doesn't play.
Well, there's always a chance something happens and he doesn't.
You're right.
And we saw what happened when Deshaun said he was going to play, and then he didn't.
But a player is more likely to be a little loose with, I'm going to play or not.
Sure.
Whereas a GM, especially a buttoned-up GM like
this
Andrew
GM
Berry,
has said he's going to be fine. He'll be out there.
He is, so I'm expecting him to play, and who knows if he would have said that if they were playing this week.
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing arguably the best team in football, certainly one of the best teams in football.
Well, the team that takes its most pound of flesh out of you. What was the stat last year? The teams the week after they played the 49ers were 0-16.
That's correct.
They beat you up.
Yeah, to me, I'm with you. I would have not made the mistake, because anytime you're dealing with health and you're dealing with different things, even when you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you need something done, the first thing you ask is, what's the percentage of success? And they're like, well, we got to get in, we got to look at it.
Sure.
They're not going to give you, even when you got a terminal illness, they're not going to just be like, yeah, we're just going to tell you what it is, because as a doctor, you can't with any certain guarantee or certainty that that's going to happen. So if I was Andrew Berry, I'd be like, well, listen, we'll hope he'll be back.
Yeah, that's what I would.
I get what you guys are saying. Ultimately, Deshaun must have been so close to playing that they feel like there's no way he's not going to play in 2 weeks. Again, it could change, but. But are you excited that the bye week is here now? Even though we didn't like it here in the beginning.
Oh, listen, I mean, that's the best thing. I mean, the bye week, when you held him out, he essentially gets 3 weeks, right? Like, he didn't play last week. You got the bye week this week. Then you got a whole nother week of practice before you get to another Sunday.
Yeah.
It works out well. And for another reason, I think, as I went back and maybe I got too much time in my hands. I went back, I watched the All-22 again. I was like, hold on, let me figure this out. Because, there were some things where, and I think Quincy Carrier, I'll give him credit for this. He talked about there's some things where the Browns run plays and you don't know what their landmarks or their keys are, like what the progression is in the passing game. And so sometimes you can run these routes, and the quarterback, the offensive coordinator tells the quarterbacks, hey, on this play, the progression is this. You're going to look first to Amari Cooper. That's number one. If he don't have it, you're going to move your eyes to the tight end on this shallow cross. If that's not available, check down, right?
Right.
Sometimes there's not even a progression for people that's running routes. That's why sometimes backside when they say you dogging it backside, because they know they're not in that progression. So They don't, why would I run that route hard? So I went back and looked at it, and I just think there's a lot of times when you see Deshaun Watson and DTR, they're looking first for a guy that in the route progression is not open, or it's a very difficult throw. Like some of these progressions is like you read high low a lot. You got to if the defensive if the safety bounces back and then the linebacker comes forward, then you hit a guy. That's hard to read, especially when you ain't got that much time. So I'm hoping they go back into this in this bye week and say, okay, let's rethink some of these progressions. Maybe it is better to put David Njoku as the first read. Just some quick stuff. Hey, he's going to chip
You
and get
said
in
he
the,
was open
all the time in the flats.
All day.
Well,
the time.
they need to. I mean, with your opponent being great defensively, and your quarterback being banged up, and your left tackle being terrible,
Keep it
those
simple.
3 things combined make me think we need to, like, the Browns at the moment should not be looking to throw the ball down the field in this game.
Right. Keep it simple.
Keep
it
they
simple.
need quick passes.
Yeah, quick 2-step drops.
Yeah.
Get it out.
I mean,
get it out.
We can't afford to have Deshaun Watson take too many hits in this game.
On the bye, I'm still not in love with it where it is. I know that we kind of caught a break, but it would have been a real break if it happened directly after the Deshaun Watson injury, and he wouldn't have had to miss any games. Mm-hmm. So would he be able to play on Sunday? Well, he's thought on Friday he would be able to play in 2 days.
Yeah.
So my guess is he would have been able to play this Sunday anyhow. So I'm just a fan of getting the bye more in week 9, week 10, or even later. And the reason being, it's a battle of attrition. You know this. Sometimes it's death by a million cuts. All of the hits sort of add up, and they take their toll. And I remember one year when I was covering the Bucs, it wasn't the year they won the Super Bowl, it was the year they made in the NFC Championship game. Their bye week was like in week 11. And all of the players, every single one, said, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is perfect. We feel like we're at mile 25 right now of the marathon, and we don't know how we're going to squeeze out that last mile. However, knowing we have 14 days between car collisions, which is what it's like to play in a football game, they all had their batteries recharged. They all felt great. All the nicks and dings and sores and pains that add up had a chance to heal, and they came back really strong. Think about this, guys. When the Browns play the 49ers for their 5th game, they're going to have football games in 12 straight weeks without a break.
All the way to it snowing.
However,
And if they make the playoffs,
keep
boom.
moving.
However,
so that's
they
tough.
get a mini bye late in the season.
They have a Thursday game
They have
late.
a Thursday game in week 17.
But that also means that they're playing on 3 days rest.
Well, but
No, I know. It's
right.
It's,
That's true.
The benefit of that is once they're done with the Thursday, they've got 10 days to get
Right.
ready.
And
but the bad thing is they're going to play a game on Sunday, and in 3 days later to recoup, they're going to get ready for another game.
The good news is their Thursday night game is at home, which is
Who's
a
that
big
against?
advantage. Jets.
Ooh, okay.
So
I'm not ready to say the Jets are an easy pushover yet
No,
because I
they're
watched
not.
them against the Chiefs.
I like. Well, here's the thing too. We talk about the schedule. Now you have to play. I'm surprised we haven't done it. Yet last year we did it because we were quickly running out of games to say whether we were going to be in contention when Deshaun Watson came back. But you look at the schedule. On paper, it says that your schedule gets a little better after you get to, per se, the 49ers. So you got the bye week. I think week 6 is the 49ers.
What do you say? The schedule's tougher than we thought? Well, is that what you?
Well,
let's look at it now.
I think so, yeah.
Well, let's go through all these games right now.
Colts
and
beat
say,
the Ravens.
Hold on one second. Let's say if this game on paper today is easier, harder, or the same as what we thought before the season.
Great idea.
Yeah.
I would
think
say
they're all
the
harder.
The Niners is a wash. We thought they were going to be great. They're great.
But they're even better than I thought they were going to be.
Maybe because Brock Purdy has cemented it with
You're right,
another 4
and that's
games.
why. That's exactly why I would
Colts
say they're better.
Colts
The
are
Colts-
better than we thought.
They
Colts
beat
is
the
better.
Ravens. They're better. The Seahawks boat raced the Giants, and their
Right.
defense got 11 sacks.
And it's at Seattle.
So that's
Yeah.
harder. Yeah, that's
Cardinals,
almost.
I still
you
think
never
the
win in Seattle.
I still think the Cardinals are not very good, but they're a
They beat
little
the
better than we
Cowboys.
thought.
They
I
beat
know,
the-
but they've been
I-
bad
that's
the other
Josh
times.
Dobbs' revenge game.
I know, but they beat the Cowboys. You're right.
But Jay, they also blew a big lead to the Giants, who were terrible.
They did. I know, and I can't. But I never would have had them beating the Cowboys. Never in a million years.
And they played decent against the 49ers. It wasn't like the 49ers like smoked them or something.
They were never winning that game.
They also blew a lead against Washington. They've been frisky. They're not good.
They're frisky.
But they're
not-
frisky.
That's a game the Browns should win. But yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I thought the Cardinals.
all
would be,
those are harder.
I thought the Cardinals would be what the Bears are and what the Panthers are. They're not. They're a notch above that.
Yeah, to me, they're like the Buccaneers. Everybody thought the Buccaneers were going to win 3 or 4 games.
Right.
And
No, I think the Buccaneers are better than the Cardinals.
you had the Buccaneers winning 5.
I don't know if I said 5, but
Yeah,
I didn't
no.
think they were going to be good.
After Baker won his first game, you go, it doesn't matter. He's still on a 5-win team.
But
They
they're
look
better than the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And they're like
Yeah.
the Cardinals, they're better than I thought.
Show the next group of games.
The Texans ain't.
So we still got the Ravens.
Ravens
which
are
is what it is.
Ravens
know,
to me
man.
are a little better than I thought they would be at the moment. The Steelers are about what I thought they'd be.
Broncos are worse than I thought they'd
Broncos are worse. Rams are better.
Rams
I
are
thought the
better.
Rams would be terrible.
be. Jags are worse, too.
Jags are worse at the moment, but I could see them being back
They
to what we
might
thought.
figure it out like they did last
But the
year.
Rams are definitely better. The
They
Rams
are
are a
better.
competitive team.
These are all toss-ups.
And by the way,
It's the NFL.
if you
Bears,
go back to those, you have 2 West Coast games, essentially
Yeah.
West Coast
But
games in a row. You're
all
at
these
Denver and
games-
you're at the Rams.
all these teams are worse except for the Texans than we thought they'd be.
Well, the Bears will be
Yes,
be tanking.
you're right.
You could almost
The Bears
pencil
are
it in.
awful.
The
Texans
Bears
are better.
will lose that
Jets
game.
are not as good as we thought they'd be, and the Bengals are not as good as we thought.
But the Jets got a great defense. They got a good defense, man.
Man, I tell you what, the way the schedule was laid out, though, I mean, I know that I'm not saying that they were out to get the Browns, but this certainly didn't do them any favors. They have to close at the Bengals. Now, I know the Bengals aren't what we thought they were going to be, but when this schedule was made out, they were thought to be one of the top
they got
2.
I mean, they got 4 of their first 5 games at home. That was a big advantage.
It was, but one of them is the 49ers.
Yeah, but
One of them was the Ravens. One of them was the Bengals.
I think the league needs to do a better job of having, if
home
possible,
away, home away.
Well, no. I was going to say that by the teams, every team in the same division, as often as possible, should be on a bye the same week or close to it.
I actually agree with that.
Yes,
Right?
from an advantage standpoint.
Right, it's not
Yeah.
fair that I think the Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers all have late week buys.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember off the top of my head,
And
but
Joe Burrow, week 17, Burrow is different. Like I didn't see him.
he claims he feels the best he has in 2 months. I'll be interested to see how they. This is the last week for me for them. If he doesn't play well and they don't play well, they're done. If they lose this game,
Wow.
If they win this week and he looks like himself again, then it's a
Who do
whole
they
new
have?
season. Arizona.
Well, that's a get healthy game.
It's on the road.
I'll tell you
but-
this: 1-4, almost
No.
rubber stamps you.
It's
to
not even about
making the
1-4.
playoffs.
It's about him just not. And they
No,
just
I
not
know,
look like
but
a good team.
what I'm saying is,
Yeah, 1-4.
that's
you're
a tough hole to do.
It
It's not
is.
impossible.
Yeah,
but you
but-
got it. You're looking at like finishing 10-2.
Right, but on the other hand, if he looks like himself again and they look like themselves and they're 2-3, then they're right there.
You're absolutely
It's a
right.
huge
Yeah.
difference. So that to me is
Well,
this
look,
is it.
in all likelihood, I think we all have the 49ers beating the Browns. If the Niners beat the Browns and the Bengals beat the Cardinals, then ostensibly they're 2-3. The Browns would still have, or the Bengals would still have a game in hand.
Right.
But so, everybody talked about the slow start for the Bengals, and the Browns got off to a hot start for a minute.
It's a long season.
It is a long season.
The Ravens are playing. Who are the Ravens? Oh, Ravens and Steelers are playing each other this week.
Oh, good. So one of them has to lose.
Right.
It's just all those games to me. Even by the way, have you seen Russell Wilson's numbers?
He's killing it.
He's balling.
They're not.
It's
1-3.
garbage time numbers.
No. Look,
His numbers is crazy.
they're
bro.
not 1-3 because of Russ this year.
No, he hasn't been.
They were bad last year because of Russ. This year it's their defense.
I agree. His numbers are a little inflated, Mike, but.
What are they? 9 touchdowns, no picks?
Russell Wilson has 2 interceptions, 9 touchdowns. He's thrown for 100.
Take out the Dolphins game. What are his numbers? Because the Dolphins game, that was all ridiculous garbage time. Take out that game. What's his number in the other 3?
Well, he only threw 1 touchdown that game. He threw 3 touchdowns, no interceptions against Chicago.
That was a close game. They came back and won.
But the Bears are pathetic.
Yeah, but still.
I know.
They were up big on Washington, and he choked in the second half, but he still threw for 3 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Weren't they down 28-0?
They were down 20 to the Bears, 28-7.
Oh, it's 28-7.
Yeah.
That's still a hell of a hole
It's
to
a
dig out of.
comeback. I mean, it's still an NFL team.
big.
It's not like playing a MAC team.
No, but you wonder, is that going to be what turns them around?
Yeah, it could be.
Sean Payton.
So he's played well so far, Russell.
I mean,
his QBR, which isn't a perfect stat, but it gives you, it's 1 through 100. Through 4 games, the 51. Despite the fact he's thrown 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Not good at all.
a lot of those games that I thought was slam dunks, and it's just the way
It's the NFL.
It's just
right now, the only 3 teams that seem completely hapless are Chicago, the Giants, and Carolina. Those teams. Now, the Bengals have been bad, but I'm not putting them in the hapless category.
No.
Those 3 teams are hapless.
And then you've got the 3 that you want to look at is are they juggernauts? You've got the Eagles and the 49ers in the NFC. I think those teams are as complete and well-rounded.
I think the Chiefs are right
as
there.
a team. And the Chiefs, although they've been human this year,
so
they easily could have lost that Jets game, I think that they're going to figure it out. They always do.
They always get better as the season
goes
along.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins, I don't know what to make of them with the 70-7 win.
Well, the thing with the Dolphins, too, that you got to always have is that feels like one hit away from being out of football.
Yeah, it is scary.
And that kind of is just hanging over them.
And Buffalo seems to have figured it out after that terrible showing in week 1.
But like most of the teams are teams 6 through 28 are probably not a huge difference right now.
Well, right now you're either 1-3 or 3-1.
Yeah.
And a lot of 2-2s.
Yeah, but
all right.
there you go.
You got to read, and then we'll do the turnover talk.
Yes, sir. If you guys missed it last night, we had a very special edition of Behind the Glass. Adam the Bull joined us for the end, and the first hour was good. The last 25 minutes of the show is worth your time. We got some behind-the-scenes stories, and we got into a discussion that I did not expect us to get into about diversity in the profession, what Bull's seen coming through the ranks from New York to here for 20 years, Earl's personal experiences, how UCSS has made diversity a priority, and it was an eye-opening conversation for some people who may not think of that kind of stuff on a daily basis, who, as a society, we should think of more. So kudos to Earl for opening up. Kudos to Bull for joining us. And if you missed it, it's on our YouTube page. Definitely go back and check it out.
Awesome.
My wife was worried that I was stealing the thunder from you guys, and I said, no, that wasn't the case.
No, you're welcome on whenever you want, Bull.
She didn't want me to steal the spotlight from you.
Hey, there's enough light to go around.
There's all kind of channels.
Mike put me on the spot. He was like, you're used to getting questions your way. He's like, why don't you ask each of us a question?
Yeah.
And so I asked each of them a question that was really non-sports related.
Oh, nice.
Anthony's was sports adjacent, but
of all of us, Anthony is probably the one that is not probably, definitely. He's the least into sports.
Actually, Steve,
and Director Steve, of course. I mean,
but then Anthony second. Well, that's what I asked Anthony. My question to Anthony, so if you go back and watch it, you'll get the answer, was, what would you have graded yourself in terms of sports knowledge before this show started?
Oh, that's a good one.
And what would you grade yourself today?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And I'd like Director Steve to answer that too, because Director Steve has told me many times, I've never really followed sports, but I feel like I'm learning a lot just by sitting in on these 2-hour conversations every day.
It's funny, whenever I meet guys, especially guys, like in Cleveland, most women like sports.
You're right.
Which was not the case in New York. I knew almost no women that like sports in New York. I'd say 90% of women I meet here like sports.
Boston and Philly, women there love sports.
It's
but
wild.
New York, They
I don't know what it was.
just doesn't.
Maybe it was
crack.
just the women I knew. I don't know.
No, listen. I was in the Northeast area and the New York area for 9 years, and I
Yeah.
have to agree with you.
Yeah,
it is.
But
not,
here, everybody. I think in my 13 years here, I've met 8 people that don't like sports. Like in 13 years, it's almost impossible.
It's part of the culture here.
But what I always thought, Jay, from my entire life, and I'm sure you feel this way. I'm sure you feel this way. All these, Mike and Earl too, who are big sports fans. Whenever I meet a guy that doesn't like sports at all,
yeah,
I'm always baffled.
Yeah,
I'm like,
because
it's stunning to me.
I used to be a manager at DirecTV.
Yeah.
And we used to always, one of the things at DirecTV is they used to always say, you want to sell the
sports
NFL,
packages.
the sports packages.
Yeah.
And some people was like, I'm not into those sports. And then in my mind, I was always caught off guard. Like,
what do you mean?
I mean,
you're not
so-
into sport?
so-
Yeah.
What do you do all the time?
I'm like,
Well,
so-
it's funny though. We're the center of our own universe. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so that means we gravitate to people like us.
Right.
Yeah.
That means that we came from the same all of my family members. I'm a sports fan because my dad was a sports
Sure.
fan, and you, and you.
Yeah.
And a lot of, so that the men that aren't sports fans, when they have kids, they're not immersing their kids in that sports culture because they don't care about it.
So I used
So
to-
it's kind of handed down generationally, and that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I used to always go next. Usually when people say that, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm selling you something, then they want the political packages. Like, they want.
right.
Oh,
like,
you're thinking if not a sports fan, what are they into?
What do you got to be into something. So usually it was politics after that, right?
Was it?
Yeah. So politics was the next one. Then after that, it would be they don't count like hunting as sports. Like
Right.
they
Outdoor-
A lot of
outdoors.
outdoorsmen are so into that they don't follow.
They don't
sports.
follow
Well,
sports.
there's 3 types of guys, right? There's sports guys.
Yeah.
There's car/outdoorsman guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then there's music/computer guy.
The arts.
Yeah.
Almost every guy fits into one of those 3
Yeah,
categories.
you know what? I think you're right.
And you know what? And if you weren't fitting under one of those 3 umbrellas,
Yeah.
I said, what other channels are you looking for, sir?
If you're not one of those categories, you might, if you're not one of those 3 categories, you might be a serial killer.
If you know, you know.
That's
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right, turnovers, guys.
Yeah.
As we look at the defense, and we've talked about this, we think that there are metrics that show that this defense is off to what would classify them as an elite defense. Not historic yet. I think that's too early to have that conversation. But I think they're elite. But the one thing that most great defenses do is take the ball away. And this defense does not do that. They've had 3 turnovers. They've forced 3 turnovers now in 4 games. The offense is turnover prone. They've given it up 10 times in 4 games. And in all 4 games, the Browns have lost the turnover battle. You see their differential there, -7. The fact that this team is 2-2 with the -7 turn. Where's -7 ranked? 30?
Yeah, it's
30th.
right underneath.
Who's below them? And what's their records?
1 second.
I'd be surprised if either of them are 2-2.
It's stunning. If you think about how many times the Browns' defense has been put in bad field position.
Short fields, yes.
And yet, their defense has played 3 historic games and 1 okay game.
It's nuts. It really is. So
Which is crazy.
31 and 32 are who in the turnover differential?
The Raiders,
Okay.
at -9,
And what's their record?
they have 1 win.
Okay.
And then the Giants and Vikings are both tied at -8. And that comes out to...
So all 3 of those teams are 1-3.
They've combined to win 3 games total.
Now, I think the Vikings are a decent team, too. And I think they will play better. They're playing the Chiefs this weekend.
Well, part of the reason they are 1-3 is because they've been giving it
They've
up
had
too
a
much.
crazy amount of fumbles. I don't even think it's been that many interceptions. I think they've had a lot of
Yeah.
fumbles.
Are
Listen,
you worried about that?
Yeah, I am worried.
I am too.
Listen, there's always a percentage of turnovers both ways that are luck.
Yeah.
A bounce of the ball,
Sure.
It goes off a body part, whatever. But there's the other chunk of it that when you're turning the ball over is about how you're carrying the football as a runner.
Yeah.
How you're carrying when Deshaun Watson's scrambling, how he's carrying the ball, how he's seeing the field in terms of not throwing a pick. And defensively, the non-luck part is, are we being aggressive, attacking passes to get a
That's why I'm so
interception?
surprised we don't have picks.
Right, because they've been
Like
aggressive.
they've been an aggressive. They're constantly applying pressure. Myles Garrett is either home or real close to home in a high percentage of the opposition's throws.
Yes.
we're not picking off the ball.
I think it's coming. I'm more worried about the offensive turnovers than I am about the lack of defensive turnovers.
I would forward echo.
Turnovers forced.
I completely agree with that. I think sometimes I'll give the other teams credit. Instead of, and that's why I get mad, because it just seems like these teams are coached. They're just coached a little bit better. Like, so the quarterback, like you look at who we played, and like you said, Myles Garrett and all the pressure and everywhere, it seems like the coaches are telling their quarterbacks, listen, if you take a sack, it's -7, -8. We
Better than a fumble or a pick.
Don't throw the ball to them. Just eat the sack. Just take the sack. I know people don't want to take it, but the lost yards, sometimes a punt is good. Like, I know you don't. Everybody wants to go down the field and score, but what it does, it gives your defense an opportunity to help you out.
It's a lot better than a pick or a fumble.
Do not get a pick and don't fumble the rock. So that shows you value to football. So on the other side of the spectrum, to me, I just don't think the Browns on offense, they show a lack of regard for the football. Like, they do things that you cringe at. Like sometimes the way the quarterbacks are fast and loose, right? If you look at DTR, now granted, he came in, he tried to run a lateral option play, like on the sideline. Yeah. It was a 4 lateral, and I'm wondering, is Alex Van Pelt in your ear like, whoa, what do they teach you? Because Deshaun Watson is kind of careless. He threw the ball backwards against the Tennessee Titans.
What's funny, that even wasn't even a turnover. That was like his worst play.
Neither one of those were turnovers, but they're both head scratchers.
Yeah.
And when you and my thing is, they're going to have to really work on this during the next part of the coming off the bye, because when you got your offensive line and they're struggling the way they are, you got to be coached to keep the football secure. And you also have to be coached to get it out quickly, because those strip sacks come when you're trying to move around and run around and create. It's just like, I just would like to see them, have more value in the football, even with the receivers. Like, Elijah Moore is just getting the ball taken from him. He's running backwards and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, it seems like they're not valuing the football the way they should and playing complementary football with their defense.
To me, wide receiver fumbles are inexcusable.
Yeah.
Those are crazy. I mean, that should almost never happen.
Because you're not getting hit. Like, they basically taken the catch where you're defenseless out of the game.
Right, yeah.
So
With the running backs, they're getting hit all over the place.
Yeah, sure.
By 6 different guys.
A lot of times you'll see a running wide receiver, you have the ball punched out from behind.
Right.
Like a defensive back is closing, he doesn't even know he's there.
Right.
And he comes around and punches it out.
That hasn't been the case with Elijah Moore.
No, it hasn't. Elijah Moore just seems to be like, here, I don't want it, you take it.
That did happen to Njoku on his one fumble.
It was.
Other than that, the rest of the receiver fumbles for the Browns this year fall into Bull's inexcusable category.
Yeah, it's just they've got to clean that up. And I've always said, if you're looking for one stat to judge your team on, obviously there's a million stats. Look at the plus minus at the end of the year, and you can pretty much guess what a team's record is based on their plus minus.
It's very rare to have a significantly negative plus minus.
And have a good team. Yeah. At the end of the year, your bottom 16 teams are usually the 16 teams that are the worst at turnover differential.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some gray area in the middle.
There is a little bit. But for the most part,
if you're in the extremes of that, if you're extremely high,
if you're
or
plus 22
low,
at the end of the season, you're 11-6.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And if you're minus 22 at the end of the season,
right,
you're 6-11.
And that's the pace the Browns run right now. They got to change that.
Look at last year.
I do. So there's a little bit of anomaly because the Chiefs ended up at -3 last year.
That's rare.
Yeah, which is.
But that's in the gray area to me.
No, it is, but it's still rare. And it's not like it's a -15. They were pretty much a wash. You can win by being a wash on the turnovers.
Who were the teams that were double-digit minus last year?
Well, we'll start with the double-digit pluses to start.
Okay, double-digit pluses.
So San Francisco was tops in the league, +13.
Okay.
Very good.
Made it to the Final Four.
Dallas's defense led the NFL in takeaways. They were +10, another playoff.
Made it to the Final 8.
Yeah. Philadelphia +8, Super Bowl contenders. Those were the top 3 teams.
They were Final 2.
The bottom 3 teams, only 2 teams finished in the double-digit negatives. The Colts, who drafted in the top 5.
Yep.
And the Saints, who were not very good last year.
Go. Yeah.
The Raiders, Jets, Commanders, Cardinals, Panthers, Falcons, Titans, Bucks, Bears, Texans, Rams, Broncos, and Browns were the other teams outside of Kansas
Those
City.
teams were all under
that
500.
finished
Yep.
with a sub.
They were
or
all
a
bad
negative
teams.
I think
turnover.
the most
it's-
wins in that group were like the Browns and the Titans with 7 wins. I
So
think.
it really is a predictive stat.
Yeah.
And to your point, and I love your point because I think you're right, G. I think coaches prioritize things like special teams. You see that come out in the wash. The teams that really spend time on special teams, they're usually at the top of the list in special teams play. It's the same thing with ball security and trying to take it away. I remember for years, Peanut Tillman is the one that invented the plunge and perfected it.
Right.
Yeah.
That Bears defense, it was their mantra. Before they broke the huddle in every play, it was takeaway.
Yeah.
It was front of mind on every play. Let's take the football. And if you make that concerted effort as a coach to drill it into your players, I just think it's more likely that message
Yeah.
is permeating the players and you're
Right.
seeing it on the field. We've got to coach these guys to do a better job of taking care of it and
Yeah.
a better job of taking it away.
Well, it's hard to be critical of Jim Schwartz because the defense has made such improvements.
No,
That's
I know.
really the only negative thing you could say.
It is the only negative.
At this point. On offense, yeah, I mean, that's a fair criticism because the offense as a whole hasn't played particularly well so far this season. But, yeah, I mean, you'd think it would be a big part of coaching is coaching those things.
You know, it's so difficult. Sometimes, like when you're a defensive player, there's a couple of things that you're thinking about. Like you're thinking about, okay, all right, I'm here. Let me just make the play. Or a couple of things you be thinking about is, okay, we've been hammering home tackling. Sometimes when you're a bad tackling team, which the Browns have traditionally been, you just thinking about getting the guy on the ground. You ain't even good enough to start punching the ball out.
That's
Right.
true.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a great point, G, because there is a fine line, right? Where if you go up to tackle somebody and you're just trying to get the ball out and you don't, well, maybe he gets another 7 yards. while
Or
you're trying
strips
to do
away
that.
and goes the distance.
Right,
too.
yeah.
First
So
thing, get them on the ground.
Right.
But if you can, while you're getting them on the ground, also try to knock it free or gang tackle.
That's
First
the
guy
best
wraps him
scenario.
up.
It is.
Recon
Second-
comes in and knocks the ball
That's
out.
the
That's
best
the way they
case
teach
scenario,
it. They teach it like that. First guy, wrap up, hold him
Yeah.
up.
Yep.
Second guy, you come in and look to strip the football. But, you know, the Browns, they had terrible pursuit. There was sometimes where it's just one guy and you waiting for the cavalry.
And there's no cavalry
And there's
coming.
no cavalry.
Yeah,
Like, did
I
you not
know.
see him running?
I just think the Browns have such a talented secondary that it feels like it's just a matter of time.
It
I
should.
can't believe they're not
It's
getting picks.
crazy.
I just can't believe they're not getting
Especially
picks.
Denzel, who does get picks.
You would think he'd
But the
have
other
a
guys
handful.
haven't had them, but
No.
Denzel's had picks.
You know, I think interceptions come from. I used to always say in college, you know, sacks is the same as picks, right? It's hard to get double-digit sacks, but then I even started to think, nah, they ain't the same. They're not created equally because
It's harder to
it's
get
harder
picks.
to get picks because I could just run into a sack or the quarterback fall down. Then we talked about that a little with Sam on PFF.
Right.
All sacks aren't created equally. So for defensive backs, I think it takes an elite level of one, play recognition, understanding what they're running. And you know that I know that we all know that they know that they about to throw this football. But sometimes you got to play it off.
Right.
You got to act like you got to bait somebody
Warren
sometimes.
Thornhill did that well in Kansas City. He would jump routes and come
Yes.
out of nowhere
Yeah.
like he knew what was coming, but
Yeah,
we just haven't seen
that.
it yet.
And this obviously, this is obviously the first game with the Bengals was a weird game, but the offense you're facing next week. I mean, you got a quarterback that's playing extremely well.
Yeah.
We could argue all day how talented he is. All I know is he makes a lot of smart decisions.
Doing what he needs to
And
in
he's
that
playing
offense.
very well.
is.
And their skill position talent, through the roof.
Yeah.
McCaffrey's the best.
They've got a
Debo's
top 3
great.
tight end,
Yeah, he's
a
not even
top
have-
3 running back,
He
and
hasn't
a
even
top
done
3
much
wide
yet.
receiver. No, he hasn't. But
And by the way, their number 2 wide receiver, who's having a better year than the number 1 wide receiver, I think is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league.
Probably
Brandon
is,
Ayuk.
yes.
He's a really good player.
And the best left tackle in the game.
And they got a
Sure.
great offensive
Unreal.
line.
Based on the conversation with turnovers, this is probably not the week it breaks for the Browns. On the season, the 49ers have turned the ball over one time.
no, that's what great
They,
teams do.
they not like
What are their takeaways?
The 49ers are +4 in turnover differential. They have 5 takeaways, 5 interceptions on the season, only 1 giveaway. Dallas is running away with the lead. They have 10 takeaways already and have only turned the ball over once as well. For
That
a
Dallas
+9.
defense is special, man.
That is personally given G. Bush 2 fantasy wins this season.
Yes,
That
by
Cowboys.
Speaking of which, can I share a minute? So I'm in this my biggest fantasy league is a keeper league. We have contracts. It's very complicated throughout the season. So we already have a few teams that are packing it in and playing for next year.
Wow.
And
Already?
Yes. These teams everybody's very aggressive. It's anyway, I made a trade with one of those teams that's playing for next year, in which I acquired Austin Eckler.
Oh.
But as part of that deal, I demanded that he send me the Browns defense as part of that deal.
Wow.
Okay.
So I've acquired the Browns defense.
So this guy's giving up? He's tanking?
He's essentially, I traded him. Now, he got DeAndre Swift for me, who's been really good. DeAndre Swift's got a much better contract than Austin Eckler.
Right.
So he got Swift, and I traded him my first and second round rookie picks in next year's draft.
Dang.
Wow. He's going all in.
I'm
Brown
planning
style.
on winning the championship. It's the 12th pick in a rookie draft. Who cares?
Yeah, you're right. If
I don't care.
your first that pick
That's right.
won't kill you. But
Yeah.
that means your first pick wouldn't come until 13.
But it's just a rookie draft. I have, the
Yeah.
veterans anyway.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm
That you
not worried
want.
about
The
it.
guys you want.
That's right.
All right. What do you got, Mikey?
Before we move on and talk a little linebackers, I need to remind the good people out there that if you're looking for Browns swag for the upcoming rest of the season, I can't even say season, for the rest of the season and or any occasion in their lives, they had to head over to fanatics.com/UCSS to get the best, most comfortable, unmatched Browns gear on the entire market. If you're not wearing Kool-Aid Mafia stuff, you should be wearing Cleveland Browns gear. And if you're wearing Browns gear, you should buy it at fanatics.com/UCSS.
And by the way, Mike goes out to tailgate every week. He's part of the Browns culture now. He's out there all the time. But finally, I know I said I was going to go a couple of weeks ago and I couldn't go. But not this Sunday, but next Sunday when the Browns play the Niners, Mike and I will be out. Where are we going, Mike? Muni Lot?
Yeah, we're going to the Muni Lot.
We're going to I got my new Browns t-shirt. Are you going with us, too?
Isn't that a coincidence? Because I just realized that I'm going to be out there as well.
All right, so then we'll be a trio.
The tag team champs of the world, G. Bush and Bull.
That place is going to be
They gonna go crazy
now.
Mafia crazy.
Let me say to everybody out there that G. Bush and I are I'm speaking for you. I hope you don't mind. G. Bush and I are happy to eat your food.
No, you must offer food.
Yes, please.
Like you got to feed the animals.
Are you above going to a random tailgate, and say, "Yo, can you hook me up on those
definitely
brats?"
not.
Oh no!
Or do they have to say first, "Would you guys like something to eat?"
No. I will ask. Like I like those hot dogs are good, dog.
And by the way, if
Bull goes, "Oh no, we're going to invite ourselves."
If you want us to come to your specific tailgate, send Mike a DM, send me or G. Bush a DM, and we will come visit you.
gbush91@hotmail.com. You can hit
Send
me.
him an email.
Yeah, we'll come. We'll pull up.
We will come to we are going to be there. We got to get there early. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Just make sure you have a lot of food.
Mike's a little weirded out that I got a Browns jersey, but tough.
Yeah, the jersey
It's
is
the only thing I could get in time.
It's a risky move.
Yeah. But I'm wearing it.
It's bold move, Cotton.
I think I might.
Bold move.
And I think I might got a couple trinkets to give out too.
And I'll be.
You should come gifts in hand.
That's true.
I don't never come empty-handed.
Take their brats, give them a coolie.
G. Bush has got stuff to give away. I've got a couple of Browns things to give away. I got flags and
An apron.
an apron. 1 or 2 Browns aprons.
It's the most random things ever.
Hey,
why don't you throw in a free packages of number 2 pencils? I mean, what the hell?
And we will be handing
in case
out.
you have to take one of those tests, right?
Hey, do you
Has anybody ever seen a number 3 pencil?
No,
I don't know.
I haven't.
By the way, when we had to do
Never.
those tests back in the day, my last name didn't fit. I was 1 letter short.
and I need to ask y'all. You can put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Did anybody? Is this just an Ohio thing or a Canton thing? Did anybody used to pencil fight?
Pencil fight?
Were you
Like a sword fight with pencils?
You hold the pencils, and we would hit each other's pencils to see who would break first.
Oh, yeah, I think I do remember
really?
that. Yeah.
Wow.
I do remember that.
And that was
must be an Ohio thing.
That
Yeah.
was before the
That was
internet.
That was like maybe even pre-junior high.
It
like
was.
5th, 6th
Oh,
grade.
really?
And if you got caught pencil fighting, they would be
Yeah,
like, that was a no. They grab you up and get you up out of here.
Yeah.
Like, that was awesome.
Now
They say you get lead poisoning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You could miss and hit somebody's
Yeah.
arm, and you could stick a piece of lead in there.
Oh, my God.
Lunchroom wrestling. Did you guys ever do this?
Wow,
That's
that's
a
next
New York
level.
thing.
Was there Jello involved?
I mean, you got
Lunchroom wrestling.
No, this is what it was.
They had middle school fight
Did
club.
you guys have
Clear it out.
in your school when we went to lunch? We had the big white tables with the long white
Yes,
benches.
we had those.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so we would sit in the middle of the bench, and you couldn't use your hands, using only the rest of your body. You had to try to push a guy off the edge of the bench.
Wow, no, we never did that.
We
That
called
must
it
be a New
lunchroom
York
wrestling.
That must be a New York thing.
This is before bullying.
I've never heard of that.
Like now, you can't listen. You can't touch nobody.
No,
you,
yeah.
You can't even look at
you
nobody.
guys remember leg wrestling?
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember leg wrestling? Yeah, as a kid.
Oh my goodness, man! Like,
Yeah,
that's-
leg wrestling.
This is
That was
crazy.
a big thing, man.
That was huge things,
Yeah.
man.
Big thing. All right, where are we going to go?
Let's talk a little
linebackers. You
Yeah,
got to
and-
do a read first or no?
No, I already did the read. Then we got
Okay.
a little tangent, but
All right.
we could dig right in. Before the season, that was a position I know Jay, you were very concerned
I'm
about.
very concerned.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of people throughout the Browns fan nation was concerned about the linebackers, especially after how they played last season.
Yeah.
Fast forward 4 weeks, we have 4 game tape of evidence.
Yep.
Do you still have those same concerns, or has Anthony Walker, JOK, TakiTaki, and the rest of the Browns linebackers kind of eased any concerns you had about that position group?
Well, here's what I'll say. I think Jim Schwartz should get it corrected as far as the run game goes. But I think now we see what teams are going to look to do. They're going to look at that Baltimore Ravens, playbook, and they're going to say, listen, when the Browns defense is probably one of the fastest defense in the league, what hurts defenses that run in full flow to the football is counter action.
Yep, misdirection.
Misdirection, using it against them. You're going to see a lot of teams now set up some screens. You're going to see counter plays with the running back or quarterback. You're going to, I think, also start to see more design quarterback runs in the middle of the field,
Right.
especially on the goal line. So one of the things that they do a really good job of is if they get you in third down, the Browns are a nightmare. But if you can keep that the down and distance to 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, second and short, the Browns are going to have to be forced to play run defense, and that means JOK being smaller. He can't just shoot gaps. Now he has to be a guy that they can get guys up on him. They can get 2 guys on him, move him around a little bit. Anthony Walker, I think he's a guy that can take the double teams and TakiTaki, who I think is still playing well. The isolating part is JOK. Like that's the point you go after, and you try to use Myles Garrett's aggressiveness and upfield nature against him. So I think JOK is the linchpin, and I saw him miss a lot of tackles last week in the open field.
I agree that he did not have a good game last week. However, overall, through 4 games, I think the Browns' linebacking core, before we talked about the Browns' schedule and all these teams better or worse than you thought or whatever, if you go based on what I thought of each position group and how they played through 4 weeks, I think the biggest gap in a positive way is the linebackers.
I agree with that.
Because I think the defensive line is even better than I thought, but I thought it was going to be really good.
Sure.
I thought the linebackers would be below average, maybe average,
I did
and I
too.
think they're way better than that. If you actually look at the run grades on PFF,
Right.
again, you take it with whatever you want to take it. Anthony Walker is 12th against the run.
Wow.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is 22nd, and Sione TakiTaki is 25th. They're all top 30.
That's great.
Top 30. I look at top 32, meaning your linebacker 1, essentially, against the run.
Exactly.
And all 3 of them are top 32.
Which is impressive.
Now, their grades are not as good, but even against the pass. But overall, Walker and JOK are both top 30 overall.
That's very,
Which is
very
good.
impressive.
TakiTaki is a little lower because his pass grade is
Because you got to
really
figure
bad.
there's 90 to 100 linebackers that are playing a significant number of plays.
Right.
So if you're top 30, you're top third.
Yeah.
And that's good.
And so I think overall, they've played way better than I thought they would.
I agree with you, Bull. I think in terms of position groups, they have been the biggest surprise in a good way.
Yes.
So that was clearly, if I was to rate all the position groups, it was my number 1 concern was linebacker. My number 2 concern was wide receiver. Now, where are we at the quarter pole? I think the most overachieving group so far has been the linebackers.
Yeah.
The most underachieving group so far have been the wide receivers and the offensive line. Major concerns.
You think you throw running back in there too, but
You
obviously,
can, but obviously, when Nick Chubb, when you had the best running back in the league and now he's gone, obviously that's a
you could
huge
even make
downgrade.
that excuse at offensive line with Conklin. I wonder if Conklin had not gotten hurt, would they have considered moving the big fella to left tackle for Wills? I guess it's hard. We'll never know.
It is a good question.
Yes,
I don't know, but I will say this: when you put all of what we just said into a vacuum and say our wide receiver group, we weren't impressed with them coming in. For me, they've underperformed as a group.
I thought they were fine coming in, but I agree with you that they have.
I was very concerned coming
Yeah.
in. I'm even more concerned now. Offensive line, I wasn't concerned about it. I really wasn't. I mean, I figured that I didn't think we'd see the rookie, but now that we have, that's become a bigger concern of mine. Running back is a major concern now.
Sure.
The only thing left is the quarterback, and I don't know what we have there.
Well,
so if you just look at all of those things in a vacuum, it could be a season of offensive challenges like no other. Because where are the points coming from?
I mean, at this point, there's no unit on offense that is even as good as we thought, let alone better than we thought.
They're all below where we thought they would be.
Right.
And I would throw the quarterback in there too.
Right, of course.
I mean, even with the good game that he had in his last outing, if you look at what we've gotten from that position, it's below what I expected.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, below what I expected.
Whereas on defense,
offensive line, below what I expected.
Whereas defense, it's the opposite. Linebackers way better than I expected.
Well, can I ask a
Defensive
question?
backfield, better.
Better. Defensive line, which we all thought would be real good, but it's even better than
So
we
it's
thought
like
it
we
would
have a
be.
tale of two teams here.
Yeah.
The defense is
Kicker,
skyrocketing.
better than you expected.
Kicker better.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question on the linebackers in particular, though. We talked about the addition of Jim Schwartz and how that would help the linebackers. They also added some competent defensive tackles, and the whole defensive line as an entirety has improved. G, do you give more credit for the linebackers improving from last year to this year to Jim Schwartz and the scheme, or the fact that they don't have offensive guards in their grill in half a second on every single run play?
I think it's both.
Well, there's a third thing, too, that you didn't even mention, Mike, and that's
better
they're
talent.
healthy.
Health.
Health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go with the scheme, because the scheme is, in a nutshell, we don't care where you're blocking, right? We don't care necessarily if you're pulling, you're blocking down, you're double teaming. We don't care what that is. All we want to do is just be in the backfield. And if you are in the backfield, there's nowhere you can run. Look at Derrick Henry. They didn't have a scheme where they're doing extra stuff. They just say, get up front, get off the football, and linebackers get downhill. Now, I think that works because you can work that against a quarterback like a Ryan Tannehill or a quarterback that's stationary, right? When you do have a guy like Lamar Jackson who can do a little bit of both, it puts you in a predicament because now they can line you up a little bit. Now they can say, okay, well, we're not looking to throw the ball downfield 100 times. You look at what the Ravens did. They threw quick, short passes, 15 or 19 for Lamar Jackson. He's not out here trying to throw the ball 40 times. They ran the football and stuck with it. But I think the Browns linebackers have always been, to a certain extent, especially Sione TakiTaki and Anthony Walker, really good, solid dudes, right? I think the guy that was struggling the most in the run was, JOK, but he's even secured that and helped that out a little bit. So I think it's both, but I would say the scheme, the defensive tackles they got up front are way more formidable than they had before.
The good thing about it, when you say like the Ravens are a different breed, which is true, you look at the Browns' schedule, the only quarterbacks they're facing that are accomplished runners are obviously Lamar. Now, they face Justin Fields, but that team's so bad that it's not like they don't have a good defense. And the same thing, they play the Colts. The Colts are a little better than we thought, and Anthony Richardson can run, but he hasn't shown much in the passing game at this point.
Is he healthy now?
He's back. He played this
back.
past week.
Okay.
Geno's not a runner. Josh Dobbs is not a runner. Purdy's not a runner. You look later in the season.
Now, Josh Dobbs can run. Do they want him to?
Yeah, but he's not right. Like, that's not his game.
Yeah.
Same, Kenny Pickett, not a runner.
Wilson not a runner.
Russell
not
Wilson,
a runner.
Stafford certainly
Definitely
not.
not a
Lawrence
runner.
can, but not
Lawrence
what he
can
does.
run, but
He
he's
can,
not.
but he's not like that's not a big
Lamar.
part of his game.
No.
Fields, yes, but he's playing. I give him his credit. He did play better this week. C.J. Stroud's not a runner. Certainly, Zach Wilson. That's not his game. And
Who knows who's going to be quarterback for the Bengals? I mean,
we'll see.
If he's still healthy,
they're
you
not
think he would be a
facing
runner.
the only players that are anywhere in the ballpark as a runner to Lamar are Fields and Richardson, and they're not the same level of quarterback.
They're not. They don't scare people like
No.
Lamar does.
Tell me why does this make why this is kind of off the beaten, but why does it make me mad that C.J. Stroud is putting up these? Why does that make me mad?
Because he's a Buckeye quarterback, and because the Browns, to finally get a quarterback who still has to prove more here, had to give up a ton of draft picks to get him, whereas this bumble you-know-what franchise in the Texans just ended up with, and he wasn't even the first overall pick in the draft because the first overall pick was what's his name?
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Now again, to be fair, it's only 4 games, but C.J. Stroud's looked amazing.
He's the only quarter. No, I think he's the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 250, 2 touchdowns and no picks in his first 4 games.
I look at this is
That's nuts.
I don't want to go to this. I tried to fight it. I did. But man, when I look at the Texans who got a rookie head coach, a rookie rookie defensive end, rookie quarterback, I'm just seeing when they putting up yards like this.
I know.
And then I watch my team with veteran guys that should be proven, and it's like to get points is like pulling teeth. It's like hard to swallow a little bit. It's like, what are they doing that they should be bad, like unequivocally, and we should be like we shouldn't have to work that hard to get points. And I'm watching these rookies. I'm like, man, I don't know, man. It just feels like there's something.
Is there any world where you would take C.J. Stroud over Deshaun Watson?
He playing better than him. I can't. That's undeniable.
Especially when you consider everything. A, the contract. That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
B, the age.
Right.
C.J. Stroud.
It's only
is
4
a rookie.
games, though. I have to see it more.
Listen, I'm with you too. I got to see it a lot more.
But you can't ask for a better start to a career.
No, he's been
And
everything
they've won
hoped
2.
for. and
Haven't
more.
they won 2 games in a
I
row?
think they're 2-2.
They are 2-2,
top
and we're going to
5.
bring in our next guest who knows a little something about C.J. Stroud. Before we do that, the Barbershop, new day, same time. G. Bush today, 4 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, 3 to 4, is the Barbershop. He's moved from Wednesdays to Thursdays to spread out some UCSS content. So check out G. Bush today from 3 to 4 p.m. And with that, let's welcome in Aditi Kinkhabwala, our favorite sideline reporter in the entire NFL. What's up, Aditi?
How are you guys?
Good, Aditi. How are you?
I'm lovely. Thank you so much.
Yes. Let's talk about.
She's being coy. What's going on, Aditi?
No, am I going to be pressed into talking about C.J. Stroud? Is that what you want, C.J. Stroud?
Why have you not done it? Have you done a Texans? You haven't done it. Have you done a Texans game this year? I can't remember.
I have. I did the Texans week
So
1.
give us your thoughts.
He's played really well so far. What do you think of him?
You know what? And I'll tell you this, because I had spoken to a very high-level executive of a team that had drafted a quarterback who is not C.J. Stroud, and he had told me in the spring that he thought C.J. Stroud was yet another in the long line of Ohio State quarterbacks who would be a bit disappointing. And wow, was he wrong?
So far,
CJ, yes, he has really, really, I want to say he exceeded my expectations, but that seems a little unfair because the expectations were set by this one executive. I'll tell you what was so fun in watching him is that week 1, I literally got to see him get comfortable. You see a rookie playing his very first snap as an NFL player, and then you see him play his second drive, and then you see the third drive, and it was a very long, I wish I had looked it up beforehand, I think it was a 9-play drive, or maybe it was a 15-play 9-minute drive, something like that. It was just a very long drive that he put together, and you could see the confidence, you could see the way that he stepped when he came back to the bench, and you watch that happen, and then obviously, as you know, I was on my couch last week watching my crew do the Texans-Steelers game, and so I was watching again, and he's really just grown a lot in 4 games. And I think a lot of credit for his offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, the positions that he's putting him in, the throws that he's asking him to make, the reads that he's asking him to make, the instruction and the teaching that he's getting. It's nice to see all of that. And you can also see the work that he's putting in. You know, he's not just sitting here saying, okay, I'm going to rely on my arm, or I'm going to rely on my athleticism. This is a kid that really watches tape, that really watches film, that really reads defenses, that wants to know what's going on. And it takes me back to a conversation I had with Jalen Petrie, who also is a young player, but Petrie is a captain, just like Stroid is a captain. And I keep calling him Stroid because I have an attorney named Art Stroud. And I did that all game. But Art Stroid is my attorney. And week 1, I was like, Stroud, don't say Stroid. But now I'm doing it anyway, Stroud. Jalen Petrie had said to me that there's nobody in the building that asks more questions than CJ. And what Jalen meant by that is CJ's asking questions of DBs. What are you reading when you do this? He's asking questions of linebackers. What are you thinking when you see a quarterback do this? And those are the things, guys, that I just love. I love hearing about a young player that is trying to take advantage of every single resource in front of him.
You know what's amazing, too, is they really have no running game. You look at their top. Their top.
Look at their line.
What's that?
Their line.
Their offensive line is like
terrible.
a hex.
Their top two.
They're on like their 4th string offensive guard.
Wow.
Their
Go
top
ahead.
2 backs, Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary, are averaging 3 yards a carry. 3. That's awful. And they have no big, sexy name wide receivers. Now, Nico Collins is a guy that people have thought for a couple of years had a breakout season in him. They drafted Tank Dell this year, and he's been off to a good start. And they have the veteran Robert Woods, but he's, certainly way past his prime.
Well, I'll tell you this,
I
think so. Nico Collins just had a monster game. I mean, he feasted on the Steelers right there. And Tank Dell, this is what's interesting. So week 1, we have CJ, we have our production meetings before the Texans ever played a game, before DeMeco Ryans has coached anything, before CJ has. And we actually asked CJ, okay, besides you, who's someone that we should be really, really excited to see tomorrow? And, first he's like, well, everybody. And it's like, no, come on. Just tell us someone that we should be pumped to see. And he said, I think you should pay attention to Tank Dell. And he's like, that's somebody that really is doing something special. And you look at as a rookie, what he's able to do. I'm a huge Dameon Pierce fan. I sat on the couch this week and watched the Steelers and the Texans next to a Steelers fan, my husband. It was probably the most annoying exercise I've ever engaged in my life. But
did you see her face there?
I kept saying,
looked so
watch
angry.
Dameon Pierce run. Yeah, I mean, it was awful. But anyway, watch Dameon Pierce run. Look at the way he runs. And yes, Najee Harris did pick it up for the Steelers later as the game went. But early, you see the way Dameon Pierce fights and is so physical and is constantly churning. Those numbers, Adam, are because that line is, that line. I think they were on their 4th different combination at offensive line. Wow, they're playing Kendrick Green, the Steelers cast off at guard, who just tore his meniscus. So now they're going to need to they're playing guys off of the street that haven't played together in any way. And again, yes, you need to be able to do something as a back on your own, but you need, it helps a little bit if you've got a line that will maybe block for you. If you're maybe not constantly being hit in the backfield, helps just a little bit.
Yeah. By the way, why can't the Browns, all these rookie receivers make an impact all over the league? The Browns have drafted a rookie wide receiver in the 3rd round 3 years in a row. The first one, Schwartz, is already cut. The second one, David Bell, hasn't done anything. And the third one, Cedric Tillman, can't get on the field. Why can't any of these guys make an impact, Aditi? What happened?
Well, I mean, what's the quality of the pick, right? Schwartz was always kind of a flyer. It was sort of this idea, okay, the kid's incredibly fast, but does he have the hands? Can he catch a ball? So they took a chance on him. Didn't really work. David Bell, very, very reliable, but still has to work on creating separation, getting separation, if you can scheme him open a little bit, but he's still got some work to do, clearly. And he was hurt last year, so he missed a lot of last year. And Tillman, I don't know. I mean, I'm really, really, really high on Tillman, but look at who's ahead of him. I mean, are you taking balls away from Amari Cooper and David Njoku and Elijah Moore just to involve?
Yeah, Elijah Moore's done nothing.
Tillman?
Elijah Moore and Donovan Peoples-Jones have done nothing. Let's see. I want to see what this kid can do.
I don't know that Elijah Moore has done nothing.
He's got
I mean, I think that they're trying to use him in a variety of different ways.
None of them have worked
It's
yet.
still early. Again,
I
you
know
know, in
it's
some
early.
ways this bye is so early, but the bye gives you a chance to hit reset a little bit
The
too.
Browns wide receiving core is not that good that Cedric Tillman shouldn't get an opportunity if he was worthy of one. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so then, you know, maybe that's something that the offensive staff assesses this week, right?
Let's go,
like, is this a
Stefanski.
guy that we need to get involved or use something that goes across the entire national? Peyton week 2 illustrated that a young man named Jaleel McLaughlin, he's like, I need to find more touches for him. I got to get him there. And that week we saw him. P.S. favorite story right now in the National Football League. Jaleel McLaughlin. I know people in Cleveland don't care, but remember I said that.
We had
Care
talked
from
early in the show about the timing of the bye. You know, when the schedule came out, we thought, wow, it's so early. You know, you'd rather it be in the middle of the season or
Right.
towards the end of the season when guys could really use a little bit of a break to start healing all those dings that accumulate during the course of the season. But then obviously with Deshaun Watson's injury, it seems like it works out to their benefit that he's going to get the extra week before he has to go out on the field. In general, in talking to coaches through the years as you have, what is the thinking on the placement of the bye week? Where do most coaches want that bye to fall?
I mean, I think in theory, like you're saying, everyone would like it in the middle point of the season, right? Because you're kind of beat up and maybe get a little bit healthier. But I think at this point, coaches are good at knowing what can you control. You can't control that.
Right.
So find your silver lining or turn your lemons into lemonade. And just like you're saying, in some ways, this is really good for the Browns. Okay, Deshaun gets an extra week to kind of heal up, feel better, you get a chance to assess what you're doing with your offense. You lose Nick Chubb, and do you need to involve more? And we've talked about this since the preseason has become sort of less used for real time or real play time. The first month of the season is almost like the figure it out time.
Yeah,
So,
it's
okay,
almost like
you've
the
got
new
that first
preseason.
month. You've seen. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you get a break. It's like, all right, there was our preseason. Now we get a break. Let's really think about how we want to move forward. And it's also, you know, it's overrated. Nobody's at 100% until, you know, once training camp starts.
Sure.
So it's part of the game, I guess, that you're just always playing a little dinged, a little tired, a little hurt.
Your signal's kind of coming in and out. So the one thing that I really wanted to get from you, and hopefully it'll improve, but this has been the hot talker this week, was the communication in the Deshaun Watson injury. When we left the air Friday at 1 o'clock, all of the panel and most of the fan base was of the mindset he was not going to throw. He tried to throw Thursday in practice. He couldn't. He tried to throw Friday in practice. He couldn't. We all assumed it's not going to happen. He then tells Mary Kay Cabot shortly after we left the air at 1 o'clock, early in the afternoon, I feel okay. I'm expecting to play on Sunday. The narrative quickly switched, and all of the Browns fan base felt pretty comfortable that he was going to play. Wake up Sunday morning, and everybody hears the news, he's not going to go. Then Kevin Stefanski comes out on Monday and said he was cleared to play. He was the one that said he couldn't go. Then the general manager, Andrew Berry, comes out yesterday, clean up on aisle 4. Never mind what you've heard. This was a team decision. We all came to the decision that he couldn't play. Take us through what you think of the Browns' communication on that, how it was handled, either behind the scenes and then publicly. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
So I think a player is always going to say that he expects to play. Okay? I expect to go. Everybody expect not to go. The goal is, okay, I'm going to wake up and be miraculously feeling amazing. So Deshaun saying he expects to go doesn't necessarily indicate anything to me. I think more the idea of a decision and he's acting that something. We've been in Pittsburgh this week where Kevin
Aditi, I don't know if you can hear me. Unfortunately, the signal's just gotten too bad. We're missing more of what you're saying than we're hearing. Awfully sorry about that because I really wanted to hear her thoughts on it. Hopefully we can get her back later, and either later today or maybe tomorrow. Let's try it again, but it's just the signal's just too bad. Aditi, we're sorry, and if not, we'll see you next week. I really wanted to get her thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I thought
We'll try to get a DD offhand. We're going to bring in Chris Rose in a sec, but let me do a couple super chats real quick before we get in there. Whenever we read you guys super chats, it's brought to us by our dear friends at PCC Air Force. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Air Force is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Air Force at Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We got Chris in the wings, so we're going to do these real quickly, but we got a couple I got to read here for the people. First and foremost comes from DeBaser 1990, top of the morning, folks. Let's hope we can get healthy during the bye week. Go Brownies. Donnie Stewart says the Browns are in no position to take any team lightly. They lose 90% of the games. We expect them to win. M. Bynes says 3 and out limits turnover opportunities right. That is 100% correct. M. Bynes. Michael Ribovich says, I would argue since the defense has had the least first downs allowed, they haven't had as many opportunities to force turnovers as other teams. A fair rebuttal to something we said. Sir Grizz says, Jay, you just realized the linebackers are better with a better defensive line room. Gerald Jack says, Grandpa and I will be at the Browns game November 19th. It'll be his first one ever. Jarrell, if you're down there, we'll come find you. Daryl says if we come out flat and get blown out at home after the bye week against the Niners, Stefanski will be on the hot seat. That's probably accurate, Daryl. And then last but not least, Dom Jones says, management hush Deshaun Watson not playing to get fans in the seats. People travel paid to watch this game. Still a fan, but I feel double-crossed. Do better, Brownies. And with that,
what does he feel double-crossed about? I'm confused.
That they didn't say Deshaun wasn't going to play, and I guess he's assuming they knew he wasn't going to play.
Well,
how
would they know that?
They didn't know that until Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I'm just reading super chats.
No, I get. Listen, I get it.
Chats.
It's just like the one that said, you're surprised the linebackers are better because the defensive line is better. No, I'm not surprised by that at all. I mean, you expect when you have a better defensive line that all of your units are going to improve as well. It's that's the concept of a team. You make one.
Still, there's different levels to how much better you thought they'd be.
Yes, but I think a lot of the reason they have played better is because they're not getting manhandled by the offensive linemen at the second level, particularly in the run game.
Right.
G. Bush, do you have Wi-Fi that you can give to Aditi? You sell everything else.
Yeah.
Do you sell G. Bush
She usually
internet?
has a good connection, doesn't she?
Yeah.
It started out crystal clear. I'm not
fine.
sure what happened, but we have had in the
These
past
things happen.
issues with Chris Rose getting into
We have.
VMix. Today, we have no issues with Chris Rose getting into VMix, and with that, we are now joined by the one, the only Mr. Chris Rose.
Clean signal. Look at him.
That is
Look
pretty
at him.
solid.
And we gotta put voice of the Browns on his resume now. You're out here doing
That's
your
right.
thing.
No.
He's bumping the brakes on that real quick.
Filling in for a legend. Don't Please do not say voice of the Browns. That's that is unfair. Jim,
How's it
hopefully
going for
will
you,
be
though,
back
Chris?
soon.
How's it going for you?
Well, in terms of there's wonderful people there. I mean, Nathan has helped me out a ton. Gibby, who's their awesome producer, their entire crew have just been very welcoming during a real trying time because, and I've said this all along, I don't want to be doing these games. Nobody wants me doing these games at all because that means that Jim is healthy enough to be in the booth and doing what he loves and is so great at. And listen, I've known Jim a long time professionally. I haven't lived in Cleveland during the time, that he's been doing the Browns games. But I've always had an immense amount of respect for him just as a person and his ability as a broadcaster. That went up exponentially after my first game against the Steelers. I texted him afterward and just to check in on him. And I said, by the way, you are great at your job. Not that I didn't know that to begin with, but it's so much more true now, having sat in that seat for a few games. Just it takes a special talent to do what he does at that level.
Yeah, radio play-by-play of the NFL game is no joke. And and I'm with you, Chris. No one does it better than Jim. And I know a lot of people think that their local broadcaster or the broadcaster of their team is the best. But, we've talked all day long, forever and ever, about how lucky we are to have Tom Hamilton and Jim Donovan as the voices of the Guardians and the Browns. It's unbelievable. And I know that it is a tough seat to fill. I'm sure you're going to do it very, very well. And, we all have Jim's best interest in mind. We want him back as soon as we can. I wear this every day. It's the Jimmy bracelet. And by the way, if you want one of these, I know you do. If you want one of these, you can go to our website, wkyc.com, and you can get one of these. It says, "We stand with Jimmy." I'm starting to see a lot more of them throughout Cleveland. So, Chris, your thumbnail of the whole Deshaun Watson, he's going to play on Friday, he doesn't play on Sunday, Stefanski's comments on Monday, he was cleared by the team, it was his decision, and then what Andrew Berry had to say yesterday, saying, look, it was more of an organizational decision. What's your take on the whole thing?
My take is this, is that I don't care what we in the media say. I don't care what the fans think about it, to be honest. I only care about how it goes over in the locker room. That's it. That's all that matters. And if the players have a problem with it, because you've heard some reports about that, I don't know if it's true or not, then that has to be addressed. And Deshaun has to talk to, whether it's the entire team or certain players, in order for this team to gel and get to where it wants to get to. The rest of the noise doesn't matter, because as much as we all kick and scream in this industry and we say this has an effect on a team and that has an effect on a team, the clubhouses and locker rooms at the professional level are very insulated. And I think fans would be shocked to know how little gets in there. They just don't care about a lot of stuff. And this is something that hopefully they will be able to move on from. But if there has to be a sit down and a discussion, then that's okay.
It's two different possible ones, Chris, because it's Deshaun Watson and his teammates, and it's also the comments Stefanski made. Was Deshaun Watson bothered by that? I'd be curious to see if he and Stefanski need to have a conversation about that. Because I know Richard Sherman said to our own Tyvis Powell, who's not here today, but Richard Sherman said, "Man, Stefanski shouldn't have done Deshaun Watson like that." And he said that off the air, so it wasn't like he was being on TV, trying to make something out of nothing. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see if there's any fallout from that.
Yeah, so let me get this straight. Richard Sherman, one of the guys who said that Pete Carroll was misguided when he treated Russell Wilson unlike the rest of the Seattle Seahawks. That's the way he felt. Like, to me, that's weird. I don't know, maybe, right? I don't know. I'm not sure what one has to do with the other, though. Well, he's treating a quarterback just like any other player. At this point, is he not?
Well, but no, because I don't think Stefanski erred, but he usually says nothing in the press conferences. And when you say when you say that the player is cleared to play, it can be inferred that you're suggesting he should have played but didn't want to.
But he did come out and say that Deshaun Watson knows his body better than anyone, and this is where I'll defend Deshaun, is that you have to look out for yourself. You have to. Because if you don't, nobody else will. And it's also possible he said, listen, I can't throw the ball with the type of velocity that I need to in order to beat this defense. So if I'm out there, it's just because I know what's going on with the offense. I've been in the league now for 7 years. There's nothing out there that's going to surprise me. And we know that's not going to be the case with DTR. So, listen, I imagine that there's conversations that have to be had.
Yeah.
If this is the thing that's going to derail this franchise this year, then there are bigger issues than we know there are.
Fair.
It just doesn't, to me, that this can't be the thing that stops the season. They're 2-2 through 4 games. They probably feel like they should have won that Pittsburgh game, even after what happened to Nick Chubb. But it's 2-2. In a muddled AFC at this point.
Yep.
There's still plenty to get out there and do.
Chris, we kind of talked about the different position groups, and we talked about, the position groups that we thought before the season might have been an issue. Maybe the linebackers. We feel the linebackers have played pretty well. They obviously got the defensive tackle position figured out through free agency. One of the groups that I'm kind of disappointed in is the offensive line. Especially, there's a lot that people, put on Jed Wills, and I've been critical of Jed Wills. But, the veterans, Batonio and Teller, haven't played up to what we're used to seeing. Is that something that the Cleveland Browns have to figure out if they really do want to get back to the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it's, to me, though, the figure out is play better. You can't go shopping at the left tackle shop. There's nothing that exists during the season. Like, if you say, well, let's get better at left tackle, let's make a huge trade for a left. Go ahead, tell me. I'll wait. I mean, do you really want, like, Garrett Bowles? Is that your answer to improving the Browns? A guy who's okay, and so
he's way better than Jedrick Wills, though, Chris. No?
Maybe. I mean, so if he is,
yeah,
why would Sean Payton get rid of him? He's trying to build a team and an identity out there. Why would he you have to look at it from, like, the other team has to be willing to trade too, right?
Right.
And you could say, well, Denver's not going anywhere, so they'll take a 4th-round pick for Garrett Bowles. Are we so sure about that? Like, I'm not so sure that that's going to happen.
I don't think it would be a 4th round. I'm looking at, I can't think of, is it Trent Brown, the Patriots left tackle?
Correct.
Trent Brown. I'm looking at, and again, we don't know, but if the Broncos and Patriots think, like, Trent Brown is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And maybe Bill Belichick's thinking, well, I could turn Trent Brown into a 2nd-round pick.
2nd-round pick?
Yeah. No?
No.
Why not?
For a guy who's in the last year of his contract that's at his age?
I'm trying to win. If I make the playoffs, it's a late 2nd-round pick. The Browns haven't done much with a lot of their draft picks anyway. I mean, I got a chance to get
No, but I'm saying, why in the world would you give up a 2nd-round pick for an aging tackle?
Because he's really good. He's a top 10 tackle in the league still, even at his age.
Oof. Yeah, I don't think that would happen. I just don't see that.
So whatever it would take, I'm just saying, like, if you think it takes less, then that's even better. But I'm saying, why wouldn't you? Like, I mean, Jed Wills is one of the worst tackles in the league. He is killing their offensive line. So, I mean, even if you got a mediocre guy, that would be a lot better than a bottom 5 guy.
Yeah, it's been a real problem. And I was kind of surprised they picked up his 5th-year option.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think that they're going to move on from him. I think that's my guess is that's part of the equation is they're going to look at Bill Callahan and say, listen, you're one of the best in the league. Let's figure it out and let's make it better.
I always hate that kind of thinking, though, Chris. It's doubling down on a bad decision. And I know that's what NFL GMs do, but I hate it.
They do, Jay, but so let me just finish this. That I work in the preseason with Joe Thomas, who we all think is probably a pretty good tackle. And Joe says this, not because he's affiliated with the Browns. He says, listen, Jed Wills has all the talent to do it. He's got to finish the job. It's still there. Like, he keeps saying he wouldn't move on from him. He's disappointed in the way that he plays. And I don't want to put words in Joe's mouth, but that's what he has said about him. So, I have to listen to him. He knows a lot more about offensive line play than any of us. There's no question about it. So I was surprised that they picked up his 5th-year option. I will say that much. And I just don't know if it's as easy as looking at Trent Brown. If the Browns could get him for a 4th-rounder or a 5th-rounder, I'm in. I'm not sure I'm giving up a 2nd-rounder for an aging Trent Brown that doesn't finish seasons.
Well, listen. Well, now this is turned into, Chris, do you like this player or do you don't like this player? Now, what are your thoughts about Jerome Ford in the running back room? How do you think the running back room is held up after Nick Chubb? What do you think about Kareem Hunt? Do you think Kareem gets more involved than Pierre Strong? What are your thoughts about the running back room in general?
I think Kareem was brought in to be a guy that touches the ball 6 to 10 times a game. And that's kind of where he is at this point of his career, in my opinion. I thought last week we quit too early on the conventional ground game. I would have liked to have seen us, we got right inside the 20 after the long pass interference penalty. And we ran the play to Elijah Moore, which I think will probably be ripped out of the playbook after that one.
Should be.
That's my guess. Yeah, we could take the 2 plays that lost us 20 and 18 yards in a game, right? I mean, how would you like to have lost 18 yards on a play, and that's not your worst offensive play of the day?
That's a bad sign.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. So I can't judge Jerome Ford yet. It's not fair because the Tennessee defense, nobody runs on them. Nobody. We threw all over them. Nobody runs on them. And then last week, it's hard to judge when you've got a guy who's a 5th-round rookie quarterback. It really is. So I want to see us a few more games before I say, the running back situation's just not working. And I wouldn't trade anything for Jonathan Taylor. That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. 0.
Well, the next effort is going to be tough to do that, obviously, with San Francisco coming in here next Sunday. It's going to be, either way, no matter what you try to do against this team, this is one of the best, most well-rounded teams in the NFL. And it's going to be one of those games that could surprise fans in a good way. I don't think it's going to surprise fans if they lose to San Francisco. When you look at the schedule, and we did this earlier in the show, we looked at the schedule and what's coming up on it. A lot of those games that when the schedule first came out, we thought were going to be a little easier than they might end up being now. I think Indianapolis, they beat the Ravens. The Cardinals aren't much, but they did get past the Cowboys. When you look past the San Francisco game, what do you make of the next stretch of the schedule?
It's going to determine the season. It's pretty simple. Yeah. After 9 games, you'll know exactly where this team sits because they've got games that are winnable after San Francisco, right? At Indianapolis, if you are a playoff team, you have to win that game. You have to. And Seattle, they're a tough team, man. They are tough. They've got a lot of talent around. They've had 2 outstanding drafts in a row. They've really built up their depth nicely. I don't think we're going to give up 10 or 11 sacks, but man, they're coming after you. They are coming after you. I'm not worried about the Cardinals. I don't think that that's a problem. And then that Baltimore game could be the one that gets you back into the division, right? That's the one you have to circle. If hopefully Deshaun is full bore by then, and we'll see. But these next 5 weeks are enormous, absolutely enormous not only for the season, but I have to be honest with you. I think in terms of the trajectory of where this management coaching group goes.
No doubt.
Because if it doesn't happen this year, there's going to be a lot of new faces in that building
100%.
next year.
Could be.
Got to win.
Yeah.
Got to win. Got to make the playoffs.
All right, Chris, great stuff, man. Continued great calls on Sunday, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Always appreciate it, boys. It's always fun. Take care, guys.
You bet. He makes a good point in that you might know by week 9. I know you said you were giving them 6 weeks to start the season.
Yeah.
It better be real football by week 6, and they better be in position to move forward and be a playoff team. But I think he's right. We're going to know at week 9 what this team's short-term trajectory is, but even more importantly, long-term. Because you could be looking at a new GM. DePodesta could be gone.
Yeah.
Stefanski could be gone. This next stretch of football, can't overstate it. Massive.
These weeks, we thought the first, 5 weeks was tough. I'm looking at that schedule, and I'm like, no, the first 5 weeks was nothing compared to this because you caught Joe Burrow on a humbug, right?
Yeah.
You caught him slipping. He was hurt.
Right.
So now, and you got the bye, but when you talk about San Francisco uphill battle, I still don't like playing the Colts. Seattle is a tough uphill battle. The only other one you got is the Cardinals, which look like something you would think.
The Niner game is obviously way the hardest game of the next bunch.
No question.
The others are fine. But
They're winnable. All the other games are winnable.
But even the Niners game, the game's at home. I mean, listen, if I had to bet who wins the game, the Browns should be in that game.
I don't expect them to get blown out. But
if the Browns play a really great game and lose a tough one, I'm not going to kill them. No. If they get blown out with Watson against the Niners, that's not acceptable.
No, it's not. Because we think that this team is a playoff team.
Yeah.
We know San Francisco is a playoff team. We know they're an upper-tier playoff team. But you can't get blown out.
No, and the Browns can win that game. If Watson plays, they can win.
If everything goes their way,
yeah.
they stone Seattle's offense like they have some other pretty good offenses, We'll see what
The
happens.
Browns will not be a big underdog in that game if Watson plays.
What do you think the line will be?
It's already out.
Niners by 3 is my guess.
I'd say 5.
Bull's right.
What is it?
San Francisco by 3.
Wow, that's going to move. See what it is at kickoff.
We will see. Before we get
close.
into a little contender or pretender NFL edition,
easy one.
I want to remind the good people out there, if you are watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. 2 completely free things you can do to help UCSS get to as many homes, viewers as possible. Also, tomorrow at 12:30, we are on Channel 3, WKYC. 30 minutes of never-before-seen Browns content. We're doing a little something different this week because it's a bye week, but 30 minutes on WKYC tomorrow starting at 12:30.
We can't do our pre-written headlines.
No headlines this week. We're switching it up, doing a bunch of different things.
All right.
It should be fun. We're doing a little tease. Report cards, quarter-season report cards for the
Love
Browns.
it. Okay.
Offense, defense,
The first grading
special
period.
teams.
The first 9 weeks of the school, the first
Yep.
quarter, it's over. Let's hand them
So
out.
we are doing that exclusively. Only can be seen on WKYC. But are you guys ready to
Nice.
play a little contender pretender NFL edition through the quarterway of the season?
Yes, Mike, but real quick, this is a little breaking news I wanted to share real quick. The Ohio State conference schedule is out for next year. For those who may be interested with some of those Pac-12 schools coming in.
Do we go to USC or UCLA?
The Buckeyes go to Oregon.
Ooh.
Nice look.
They do not play UCLA at all.
Wow.
And they do not play USC at all.
Interesting.
That's a bad
So
look.
that's of the Pac-12
Yeah.
teams that are coming in, Oregon is the only one they play, and that's on the
that's
road.
Who made that schedule? Like, those
No.
are 2 marquee
Part of
guys.
the reason of
That's
having
just one
these,
game.
What?
It's like, why? It's just a non-conference game at that point. That doesn't change the Big Ten schedule for the Buckeyes whatsoever.
No, we're saying we want to see those games.
we
I know that's
see
what I'm
that.
saying. It's dumb that they only have one of the new teams
Yeah,
on the
I
schedule
think
in
it's-
year one. Like,
Right.
Like,
Give us one of the blue bloods.
Did Michigan get him?
Let's see, Michigan,
Somebody has to play them.
Michigan plays Washington on the road,
Okay.
and they have Oregon and USC at home.
Man, that's cheap.
That is
that's
unbelievable,
cheap. You
man.
gave them 3, all
Well,
3.
in a way, isn't
Yeah.
it good? Ohio State's got an easier schedule.
It is
It
good,
is.
but I want to see Ohio State play USC.
Ohio
and
State will
UCLA.
host UCLA in 2025. That just came out. And they're at
Well,
Washington.
they won't see Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So they
they
don't
won't
play
get-
USC at all in the next 2 years.
That's nuts.
That's so
Why would you
stupid.
do that?
Yeah,
Stupid schedule makers.
I wonder if Penn State gets them.
Michigan lit. Like,
Ohio State's home schedule next year in conference is absurdly easy.
I mean,
they'll
that's-
play any good teams at all.
that's huge in recruiting.
No Michigan or Ohio
You get
or
out
Penn
to
State.
the
Well, actually, the rivalry game is not listed for some reason. I don't know why
So
that
you
is.
look at that schedule. Look what you can recruit off of, right? Not even a non-conference. You're going to say we at Washington on the West Coast. You get UCLA and Oregon at the house, and you still playing Ohio State. Them is 4 marquee games. They on the TV every week.
Sorry, Michigan, they do have Michigan at home. That's the only tough game next year.
Okay.
Michigan plays Texas next year, too.
They're at Michigan this year.
Michigan got
Michigan
Texas
has
too.
Texas next year?
Wow.
And as a non-conference game, but yes.
They're going to have the toughest schedule in the
In the
country.
I don't know who Ohio State's non-conference is.
And
offhand.
is this the
Notre Dame falls off it
Yeah, okay.
because that was a home and home. So I don't know that they have a real power outside the conference that they would face. I don't remember.
And next year is 16 teams or 12?
12.
12
No,
team.
it's
12 team
12.
in the college football
12.
playoff, which is great. I think that's the perfect number. I wouldn't go
Perfect.
higher than that.
I love it.
Don't go to 16.
It will at some point go to
I
16,
know.
but not for a while.
But 12 is great because the top 4 get a bye, so there's still an advantage for being top 4. 5 through 8 get the home game in the first round, which is still an advantage for that
remember
group.
my college football
Yeah.
plan I drew out?
Yeah, I remember one of our first shows.
Exactly
Also,
what I
little
said they
tease,
should do.
little tease
All
for
right.
tomorrow's TV show. The whiteboards are coming back out for something special.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Something
good.
special. We're going
Very
to play
good.
Contender Pretender. We're going to run through these quickly because we have a guest at 12:50, so we're going to run through these. If we all agree, we'll move on. If there's dissension, we will argue. But let's start
Okay.
with the Cincinnati Bengals. Contender or pretender?
Contender.
Man, you're not asking.
I didn't even
contender.
think about it.
Ask it, Tim. You're not catching me. I told you about that Week 17 game. I don't like it. Joe Burrow at home? No.
That's going to be for a trip to the playoffs for
That
one
is.
of those teams.
One of them teams got to win to make the
I'm
end.
saying contender now. But if Joe Burrow still looks like he's lost and they lose to the Cardinals, I'm flip-flopping next week. Because at 1-4, they're no longer.
This is the game
Yeah.
that turns them into the Bengals again.
We'll see.
We've been waiting for
Yeah.
it. Look,
Yeah.
they did the same thing last year with the
They
Sparta
weren't this
start.
bad.
They weren't this bad.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people that were trying to drive
Yes,
the
they were
stake in their
writing them
heart.
off, yeah.
And I'm like, hold on here.
And here comes the proverbial flip. The flip happens if the Bengals put something on the Cardinals and they blow them out. Joe Burrow look good. And
Then
if
it's a different. Then it's a whole
and
new
then
ballgame.
if the Cleveland Browns come here at home off a bye week and Deshaun Watson or the Browns don't play well and they get beat at home mightily, that's when the flip happened. Yeah. Then it's like, oh, well, the Bengals now look like they're about to be
Their
better.
2-3 would look a lot better than our 2-3. Yeah.
Bull, real quick, did you see the conspiracy tweet I sent you about the Bengals?
I did.
What is that? I didn't
if
see
the
it.
Bengals lose this game, they're going to put Joe Burrow on ice for the rest of the year. They're going to trade T. Higgins for a high draft pick, and they're going to completely tank and try to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Wow. I don't buy that, but if they have to have a bad season, I like that scenario.
That don't sound half bad.
All right, so that was just a
No,
conspiracy.
but that's not a gentleman's punt.
That's
That's in your face. We're punting.
Hi guys, we're punting.
Yeah. The Bengals are going to run into 4 or 5 wins. And that's going to take them out of the Marvin Harrison.
All right, we got a bunch, and our guest is here, so we're going to go through these.
I like that.
I took out the teams that we know are contenders. I took out the teams that we know are definitely not. So these are teams that are either 2-2.
Like, we're not going to mess around with the Eagles and the Niners.
Exactly. How about the
Or the
Texans?
Panthers.
2-2 start to the season.
I think in their division they're a contender. That's the only reason I think they're a contender.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to say
Define contender, please.
Playoff team. Right?
I thought a team that can make some noise in the playoffs.
Pretender.
Make some noise.
You-
I always look at contender or pretenders. You're going to make the playoffs.
We can do it like that then. Let's do it
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, I think they're a playoff team in that division.
If we're going by can they be a playoff team, then they're a contender. They're not a contender to have a run in the playoffs.
Who's
I
in
don't
the
think.
division?
No, but who knows? By then, C.J. Stroud's like a second-year player.
Yeah.
Because he'll have 17 under his
Yeah,
belt.
but they're still not very good defensively. Aditi talked about their
They've
deep
got
offensive
holes all
line.
over their
They
lines.
got problems. I think they're a pretender, even to make the playoffs.
I
they're better, but they're still a pretender.
I think they're a pretender, but I think the Jaguars got to step it up. They can't keep playing around.
We're getting to the Jaguars, G. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're mixing them up. Let's go to the next one. How about the Chargers? Contender or pretender?
Contender. Yeah.
All right,
You know what? I'm going to go with
In spite of their coach.
I'm going to go with pretender. And the reason why you lose Mike Williams for the year, their coach is a liability, and I don't like their defense. Their defense should be better than what they are with the named players. I think they're one-dimensional.
They're still 2-2 without, and Austin Eckler hasn't played since week 1. He's coming back this week, they're on a bye this week too. Bless you. They're on a bye this week, and he'll be back. And
I'm gonna go with. I'll say pretender.
I'll go a step further. I think that they're gonna they'll make some real noise in the playoffs.
They could. I mean, Herbert's a really good quarterback.
They are going to make some real noise in the playoffs.
All right, next up, how about the Detroit Lions? The other feel-good story.
Contender,
100%.
Yeah, contender.
They get Jameson Williams back this week. Finally,
they do, and their division's a very winnable. The Packers don't scare anybody. The Vikings now seem to be,
they're doing something that you almost never see in the NFL: an impact rookie tight end.
Laporte.
That is.
You're right.
Unheard of.
He's having a big season.
He's been great so far.
Amon St. Brown, he's balling. They get Jameson Williams back.
He's got some pieces.
Amon St. Brown is the best wide receiver in the NFL that nobody talks about.
Yeah, he's
right now.
He's like a top 10 guy
he's
at the back end of the top 10.
Plays in Detroit.
They got a really good defensive line. They got a nice offensive line.
They're playing really well defensively.
You know what's hard for
me?
It's hard for me to watch the Lions be good because they're our counterpart.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're the NFC's version of the Browns.
Yeah.
Once a great, storied franchise who have essentially sucked for a couple of decades. And I can't have them be good and us be bad.
It's
I
funny.
can't have that.
Yeah.
When Andy Dalton was at his best and the Bengals were pretty good and would go to the playoffs,
Yeah.
I always thought Andy Dalton was the first quarterback below the line that you can win with when it mattered. I thought he was just below that line.
That's well said.
And Jared Goff is kind of around that line, too. He's pretty good.
He played in a Super Bowl.
I hear you.
The Lions are the 2020 Browns. They look a lot like
they've
the
come out of
2020
nowhere
Browns.
and
every game you think they're going to lose, they're like, man,
let's see if they can keep it together longer than we could.
Yeah.
Well, but the Lions were getting hyped coming into the season.
They were because they finished great last year.
Yeah, they played well.
Who was it they beat in the last week of the
Packers.
season? They knocked them out of the playoffs.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers.
And I remember just watching that saying, I want their coach. Their coach said, we're not playing for the playoffs. We want to keep them from going to the playoffs. And they played that game like it was for them to go to the playoffs.
Those are the coaches I like.
I love that. Give me fire and brimstone.
Yeah,
I don't like nerdy, Ivy League, smart, cool, calm, collected. I don't like it.
As my coordinator,
Not for football.
I'll take him as
Dan
my
Campbell
coordinator.
hasn't won anything yet.
Not yet, but I take Dan Campbell. I like him a lot. I like him.
All right, next up, G, you
Players
mentioned the
love him, too.
Jaguars. Are the Jaguars a contender or pretender?
Man,
I got them as a
Jaguars.
contender. I'm a believer. I think they'll turn it around.
I think they're a contender. They just got Zay Jones back. Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. I like their skill position guys, but I need to see Trevor Lawrence be like, nah, we're not going to have this.
Mark it down. Hot take for you. They beat the Bills this week. Remember I said it. The games in England, they've been there for a week because they played in England last week.
Yeah, they did.
The
Jacksonville's the de facto foreign
England team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they're home away from home.
It really is.
Some of them
the
bought
game
houses
is
there.
technically a Bills home game, but
Yeah,
if you're the
doesn't mean
Jaguars, it's much better to play that game.
Interesting. That's an interesting. I wonder what the line is on that. That
think
might be a.
I believe
5.
it's 3.
Oh, I thought I saw a 5 bull.
Oh, you're right. It's 5. That's right.
5, yeah.
I love the Jags with the points. Love it because I think it's going to be close. But I'm picking the Jaguars upset this game.
All right.
All right, next up, how about Baker Mayfield and the Bucks? Contender or pretender?
Well, again, the division.
I'm going. Listen, I'm going. I'm going.
contender.
I'm
And real quick, Gigi, hold on. The Saints are next, so let's just do this. Who you buying more, the Bucks or the
Well,
Saints?
the Bucks just
easy.
pretty much dismantled the Saints.
Easy. I think Baker's going to have a whole year where he's good.
To me, a contender is if you're just a contender because your division stinks and somebody's got to win it.
Yeah, then
I don't
you're
look
not.
at that team as a contender.
Right, because they're probably not going to make
Yes.
playoff noise. But they're going to. I think they're going to make the playoffs.
Which is why I look at them as a pretender, but they definitely have a chance to make the playoffs.
Saints ain't doing nothing.
Saints are definitely a
Yep,
pretender.
Saints. Joe Woods.
All right, next up, the Cleveland Browns. Contender, pretender.
The Browns are a contender.
Right now, I have them as a pretender.
I'm going contender.
I hope I'm wrong.
This is crazy.
I mean, again, making noise in the playoffs. Winning a playoff
This is
game.
not, to me, I'm not making these picks based on what these teams have done so far. It's about what I project them to do going forward.
I said earlier, offense, like all of these position groups on offense, are underperforming.
They are.
I raised my hand. I had a blog out on the barbershop, and he just said, I hate the Browns offense. I just hate it. I don't like it.
I mean, think of the offenses you have to get past in the AFC to make noise.
You
Miami,
hate it against
Buffalo,
Tennessee?
Kansas City, Cincinnati.
I think there's not enough easiness in it.
I think you have to ignore last week.
Oh, yeah.
I think you got to ignore last week.
But there's to me there's still some flaws. I got them as
Do we have to
really
ignore the Steelers too?
a borderline. I'll have to say contender, but I am supremely worried about the offensive line and the receiver group.
Translation, if G was not a Browns fan, he'd be saying pretender.
There's something.
I think if this wasn't a Browns show, you'd be saying
No,
pretender.
I would not. You know me. I keep it real.
You usually do. I was
I'm
surprised
telling
that you had them
this
as a
is
pretender.
my
or
projection going
contender.
forward. Now, if Deshaun Watson doesn't, if the real Deshaun Watson is not what we saw against Tennessee, then they are. a
Are
pretender.
either of you guys concerned that what happened between Watson and Stefanski is going to become an issue down the road?
If they
A
lose,
little bit.
I'm a little concerned.
If they-
too.
Chris Rose made it seem like it was nothing with nothing.
Well, I mean-
and maybe it is nothing with nothing.
Right.
But like to dismiss it out of hand.
No, if they-
I also thought like he made light of trading for a tackle. Like, why can't you trade for a tackle?
It makes you better.
man, listen.
If the move makes you better, look, this team is all in. We have said that over and
Yeah.
over again. All in means you can't stop now.
No.
You're all in.
You can't let Jed Wills kill the season.
And right now, he is.
yes.
And if you have a chance, and he's right, there's no left tackle store. I understand that.
Right.
But there are moves you can make to get a better left tackle.
Yes.
And I do want to just simply state this, and I can't overstate it. If the Cleveland Browns continue to play Jedrick Wills at left tackle, they are not going anywhere. That's how big it is.
Well, according to Chris, they're doubling down on a bad decision because it was a bad decision to extend him, and they're doubling down on it if they continue to go down that
I
road.
ultimately think if Deshaun Watson plays up to his capabilities, they can overcome it somewhat. But playing him there makes it harder. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Another tease for tomorrow.
If the Bengals had traded for Trent Brown instead of sticking with Jonah Williams at left tackle, they would have beat the Rams in the Super Bowl.
They might have won the Super Bowl. You're right.
Another tease for tomorrow. The deepest dive you guys have ever seen on the Browns offensive line through 4 games. I found
okay.
some
Deepest
nuggets
dive
there.
ever?
Well, I don't know
Well,
that anybody's ever done a
this
deep
year.
dive on the Browns' offensive line after week 4.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
probably right.
It's pretty
Probably.
extensive. All right, 3 more real quick, then we're going to go
And by
to
the
the
way,
other
I
side
love
of the
Joe
world.
Thomas, but the next time he says something bad about a Browns player is
I
maybe
know.
the first time.
I know.
So,
I know.
yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
trust
The
Joe
Commanders.
Thomas's knowledge, but he
Yeah.
just isn't going to criticize any Browns
Real
players.
quickly, Commanders, pretender, contender.
Pretender.
Pretender.
I'm the same, pretender.
All right, next, the
That
Ravens.
division, I mean, you're in the division with the Eagles and the Cowboys. That's 4
Yeah.
games.
Right.
Contender.
Contender.
Contender. As
And
much
last
as I
but
hate to
not
say
least, the Seahawks.
Contender.
Contender. I think Chris is right.
One of the
They've
best
had
defenses.
2 phenomenal drafts back to back.
Yeah, they have.
That defense, Bobby Wagner looked like he was 25.
I do. By the way, I'm gonna go on. Right now, I do not have the Browns winning in Seattle. Off top.
I don't either. No one wins in Seattle.
And let me tell you something.
I don't have
He's
that.
still got to do more this year. But I got to give kudos to my guy Dustin Fox, even though they're not allowed to talk about me on the station.
Geno
even
Smith.
though they would love to.
Yeah, Geno Smith.
Dustin, when Geno came out in the draft, loved Geno Smith. He loved him. He told everybody he was going to be great. And myself and everybody else made fun of him for that for like a decade.
And he's getting a last laugh.
If Geno, now Geno's got to do it one more year. He's got to do it the rest of this year.
Sure.
So far, so good.
Yep.
But if Geno does it again this year, Dustin made the biggest comeback vindication of a prediction
Of all time.
ever. Because nobody liked Geno besides
Nobody.
him.
No, I know.
Nobody liked him. And he's been nails in
Yeah.
Seattle.
Jay
been
asked
great.
for this, and we deliver. Before we bring in our guest from the other side of the world, just one more reminder that tomorrow, 12:30, we are on Channel 3 WKYC. 30 minutes, brand new, exclusive Browns content, including some special whiteboard
Jay
stuff
and
that
I
I
arm
can't
in
tell
arm.
you all about, and
That looks like.
report cards for the
my
Browns
friend.
through the first 4 weeks of the season. And with that, I am honored to welcome in our first Australian guest ever. It is David John Evans, the VP of the Browns backers in Melbourne. What's up?
David, we got to see.
Hey, man.
Can you open up the curtain so we can see that it's
And we
dark
need a
out?
round of
We-
applause.
come on.
Browns backers in Australia. We
Yeah,
appreciate
baby.
you down there, baby.
It's 3:50 in the morning over
3:50
there.
in the morning?
It is 3:50 in the morning. Good morning, boys. G'day, how are you?
There's the accent.
There
I
it is.
can't wait to hear.
It's the greatest accent on the face of the
It
earth.
is.
It's the best.
And a shout out to Bull's Butcher.
Shout out to the. He said, "Shout out to the butcher."
Shout out
Oh,
to
the
Bull
butcher.
That proves more than anything else he could have
Yes.
said that this man watches us every
right.
day.
David,
Yes, sir.
David,
Yes, sir.
and I'll show that I paid attention to you too. This is the way.
This is the way, my thoughts.
This is the way.
This is the way. Absolutely.
These guys don't
Good
know
morning.
that.
Dude, how did you become a Browns fan halfway across the globe?
And Guardians fan. He's a Guardians fan too.
Wow.
I'm a Guardians fan. Lovely to meet you all. Jay, family connection. I have, there we go. There's my son, Max. He's also a Browns fan.
Awesome.
He's 9 years old. We have a family connection in Cuyahoga County and in Seven Hills. A family that we consider family, not by blood, but by choice. And
It's the best family.
I'm one of, it is absolutely the best family. I'm one of 3 boys. They had 3 girls. My auntie Joanne, who it is, had never done anything with sports like Australians. We're sports mad. We're absolutely.
I know.
We will bet on 2 flies walking up a wall at a pub. So we were indoctrinated very, very early with originally Indians gear, Cavs gear, and Browns gear. I always loved American football. I was fortunate enough to play it here in Australia in the from 1993 to about 1998.
Wow.
I was an outside and middle linebacker, so hence the reason. Even growing up, I loved Clay Matthews. I somewhere at my parents' house, I still have the McDonald's tray mat from a Michael Dean Perry team with the team photo on it.
Yes.
Yeah, and as you can see, we get our gear, and when you guys started over, 15, 16 months ago, I found you guys via Twitter. We try and have a pretty good presence as a Browns backers, and myself personally on Twitter, and stumbled across you guys. And you're absolutely right, guys. I watch you or listen to you every day. When obviously it's the 15 hours difference, but
it really is.
Yeah, and G. Bush, it's lovely to meet you too, sir. I have sent you photos when I was in Japan recently of the Pokemon, because Max, who's in that photo, is a huge Pokemon fan. That is me. I sent you those photos when we were in Japan of all the Pokemon stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I feel like I'm coming into your living room, and it's 3:50 in the morning. It's probably a bit early for a beer, but I feel like we should all be breaking, having a beer. So I've been a Browns fan since. No way.
No, that's inappropriate. No,
That's the second time we got a no.
that's like eating. That's like telling a Chinese person from China to eat American Chinese.
No, that ain't it.
Yeah. No. We have a Browns backers here. We have.
How do you watch the game? It's 4 o'clock in the morning when the Browns are playing on most games.
Oh, hang on, I'll move the right way.
Yeah, but I'm like,
volume very low. Like I'm trying to talk
got
now.
Max is sleeping, and those.
I'm a dad of 3, so I've got kids all asleep. My wife's asleep. We have
That's
it down
great.
very low. Because I think it's the 1 o'clock games will end up being 4 o'clock in the morning now.
Yes.
So Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night games we love because they're 10 a.m. to midday. Yeah, 10 a.m. to midday. So we go to the pub.
Nice.
And we have a couple of pubs.
Is the popularity of the NFL growing in Australia, would you say, from when you were a kid to now?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. The sad thing is, for obviously us as Browns fans, the NFL, in their infinite wisdom, have put a global fence on the Browns app. So I've since deleted it. We can't listen to the radio. So, for example, if I'm driving to work, I could put Once Upon a Time and listen to Jimmy Donovan on my way to work. I could have it in my headphones at work or via the radio. Can't do that anymore because they put a global fence on.
Ridiculous.
Why would they do that?
So dumb.
Well, it's like everything, isn't it? We can extract the last dollar. So I now have to buy another app.
That's true.
Subscribe and pay and yada, yada, yada.
Do you get them through YouTube TV? Is that how you watch them?
YouTube TV. We have a sports provider called KO. I'm not sure who they're affiliated with. We also have a thing they've changed this year, which was the Game Pass, which is now called DAZN. It's DAZN. And we're still lucky enough to have a free-to-air channel on one of our digital free-to-air stations that will play all the game, or play a select section of games on a Monday morning from about 4 a.m., 3 a.m. now, because we're in daylight savings time for our summer. We're heading into our summer now. They play still free-to-air, so they'll take a selection, and I think it's through the ESPN military channel. So it gets there's a select. So there's like ESPN games, CBS games, and a couple of the other brands come in and we'll play them on our free to air. But outside of that, you're buying apps and paying subscription fees.
Wow, that's
David. Unfortunately, we only have about a minute. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I think we should do it again at some point, like
I agree.
down the road. But last thing, give us a minute, your take on where the Browns stand right now and how you're feeling about them going forward this season.
Discombobulated.
He's a Browns fan.
They're on the precipice of absolutely tail spinning out of control, or doing something about it. I'm with you, G. Bush. The offensive playbook is high school. It's JV. It's really, really quite disconcerting. The defense is elite, and that makes me so happy. Finally, after all these years, to see this defense just tearing it up as they should. But sadly, I think our offense is no. So we're on the precipice. We're really on a tipping point, and I'm really, really concerned.
Wow.
Great stuff, David.
Great analysis, David.
We got to bring David back from Australia.
Mike, do you have a question for him, Mike? You said
yeah,
more?
I do actually, real quick. So, me and David exchange DMs all the time.
Yeah.
you said you guys have a text chain that's similar to
Yes.
a 2-minute warning show after every Browns game. What are some words that
Yes.
in Australia you guys use that may not be in the English vernacular
Yeah,
that,
we speak,
that are
they
used
speak
to
English there, Mike.
Well, I know, but like we don't say it like they do. Like, what are some words that maybe you guys use after a Browns game, good or bad, that we could start adding to our 2-minute post-game show?
I don't think you can actually put them on the air, most of them.
David, we got to get you a Kool-Aid Mafia shirt in Australia. You send me your size to gbush91@hotmail.com, and we'll get it to you. We ship worldwide.
David,
Yeah.
just text
Let's
me. I'll
go.
set you up with G. Bush. I got you. David, thanks
David.
again for joining us, and we appreciate everyone, not just David, but everyone who watches UCSS, whether you're in Ohio, Florida, New Jersey, Australia, India,
Yep.
anywhere you're
Israel,
watching
remember we
it.
got one from
Australia.
Israel
Love you guys.
recently.
There's New Zealand, there's South Africa, there's Browns backers, there's about 74 clubs around the world.
David, we appreciate it.
That's all
See
the
y'all
time
in
coming up.
overtime.